Oh, is that what these things?
Silva here yet?
I mean, these things about the house thing. No, I'm talking. Yeah.
You ready?
It's hot.
Good evening, Vacaville. This is the December 10th, 2024 regularly scheduled city council meeting in the city of Vacaville. It is 6 p.m. May I have a roll call?
Council Agency Authority Member Stockton.
Here.
Silva.
Here.
Chapman.
Here.
Roberts.
Here.
Wiley.
Here.
Vice Mayor, Vice Chair Ritchie.
Here.
Mayor Chair Carly.
Here. And if you are able, please rise for a moment of silence.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
All right. Mr. City Manager, do we have any changes to tonight's agenda?
Yes, we do, Mayor. Two items, please. Item 6H is in hotel, and item 6J is in Juliet are being continued off calendar to a future meeting. Other than that, those are the only changes I have tonight.
All right. Any member of the, okay, separate to that. Okay, so then all we need at that point is I need a motion.
Motion approved. Second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
And next is the approval of the minutes. Any changes or concerns on that? And do I have a motion?
Motion approved. Second.
Motion and second. All in favor? Aye. And tonight we do have two presentations. The first one is a proclamation to Police Chief Ian Smutsler in honor of his pending retirement. So Chief, why don't you come on down? I'm going to start with reading the proclamation, and I want to just allow you to share some words, and I'm sure there'll be a few more. So, whereas it is with great respect and admiration that the city of Vacaville announces the retirement of Police Chief Ian Smutsler, who has served the Vacaville Police Department with dedication, integrity, and distinction for over 25 years. And whereas Chief Smutsler began his law enforcement career in 1997 with the Oakland Police Department before joining the Vacaville Police Department in 2000, where you held various critical roles, including field training officer, detective, commander of the field operations and support bureaus, and whereas Chief Smutsler was appointed as the Chief of Police in January 2022, and during his tenure, he has exemplified leadership in both policing and community engagement, working tirelessly to strengthen the bond between the Vacaville Police Department and the community it serves. And whereas under Chief Smutsler's leadership, the department has made significant strides in community outreach, particularly through youth-focused programs such as the Police Activities League, also known as PAL, which has played a pivotal role in creating lasting partnerships and reaching more young people than ever before. And Chief Smutsler helped lead an effort to secure $4.4 million in grants from the state of California to build a real-time information center, still under construction, but thank you. And it's currently under construction, slated to bring the latest in crime-fighting technology to the Vacaville city in 2025, ensuring the department continues to lead in modern policing and innovation. And whereas Chief Smutsler's leadership and commitment to the safety and well-being of the Vacaville community have made a lasting impact on the department, the city, and the residents of Vacaville, inspiring countless individuals within the department and fostering a safer, more connected community for all. And whereas I, John Carly, Mayor of the City of Vacaville, do hereby recognize and honor Chief Ian Smutsler for your remarkable 25 years of service to the Vacaville Police Department and to the citizens of Vacaville. We extend our deepest gratitude for your unwavering service, leadership, and dedication to making Vacaville a safer and stronger community. And now, therefore, be it resolved that I, John Carley, Mayor, on behalf of the Vacaville City Council, do hereby proclaim that December 31st, 2024 will not just be New Year's, but it will be Ian Smuchler Day. Congratulations. I'll get it for you.
Okay. Hello. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Carley and members of the council, city staff, friends, family, coworkers, citizens, for being here tonight. This is very special. I'm trying to keep it together. And I love this city. And this city has done so much for me and my family. I will forever be indebted to the citizens of Vacaville, to the leadership of Vacaville, for giving me this opportunity to have the best job in the world, and for allowing me to have my family here in town and raise them here in a safe place because of the hard work of the men and women of the Vacaville Police Department. This body especially, I've been chief now for coming up on 3 years. And every time we have come to the council, asking for additional staff, asking for additional equipment. Never have you doubted, and we've gotten all that we've needed. And not only that, it's always been a 7-0 vote. That doesn't happen in a lot of cities. I think a lot of cities could take a page out of what we do here in Vacaville in terms of working together to make the community safe. So thank you all. I looked at you as bosses, and now it'll be an exciting time to, continue the relationships and friendships that have developed over the years, because I consider all of you friends, and I'm just incredibly honored for this proclamation. And I'm not going anywhere. I'm not moving. Me and the family are staying in Vacaville. Love this place. I'll have more opportunity to be involved in some of the charitable organizations in town, but I just love this city, and I am very, very, very grateful for all that you've done and for the community and all they've done. So thank you.
Yeah. I just want to also just say thank you, Chief Ian. We've had a lot of years together working together, so it's always an interesting time and a place when you step into retirement, and I will cherish the conversation we had around Thanksgiving, and you know that I'm always available for that cup of coffee, and it's interesting what chapter 2 looks like. So really want you to know how much we appreciate all that you've done and in service to the community and to the department. So I'm sure there's a couple more comments here. So Councilmember Silva.
You came on one of the most challenging times, not just in our nation, but even our community, and not just you, but your entire crew. Some of them, the men and women that are here, stepped up to the occasion, and I know it was very hard and taxing on a lot of folks, but the fact that I trusted, something I try to communicate as best I could, I trusted that you all were professionals and cared not just about yourselves and each other, but the profession and the trust that the community put in you. And I think through your leadership and your team's leadership across the board, you all stepped up far above and beyond what I had ever expected. And so the transformation that I've seen within the community and the trust in areas that it's very hard for people to trust, those in uniform, particular police department, police officers, period, those aren't stories that I hear anymore. You guys, each and every one of you are people that they look up to. A lot of kids want to be and emulate, and I'm very proud that you all rose up to that occasion. And we were just here to say, go ahead. So I do want to leave on one more note. Can I get a raise of hands of all the 49er fans? All I want to say to you all is Raiders!
Yeah.
I knew that was coming.
I was trying to keep that analogy out of it. You left Oakland once, you might want to leave Oakland a second, the Raiders a second time, so even they left. Councilmember Stockton.
Yes, I just want to congratulate you, Chief Ian. I do consider you a friend. It's wonderful to hear that you love this community, but I want you to know that this community loves you too. You and your team led this department through probably the roughest waters it's ever faced in its existence. And you did it with grace, you did it with humility, and I couldn't be more proud to have you as a friend, as a leader in our community, and as a guide for our people, for the men and women that wear the badge with you, for our community members when they needed you most. So you have a lot to hang your hat on. You leave an incredible legacy here, and I'm just so grateful for the years of service that you dedicated to the city of Vacaville, to your people, and it's going to last for even longer than you can imagine. So I'm just very grateful for you. I wish you the very best in your next chapter. You've earned it, and I think you have some incredible people behind you that have the watch from here.
Vice Mayor Ritchie. Vice Mayor Ritchie.
Okay, well, I've had a long talking day already, so I don't want to repeat anything these 2 men said. It's amazing, but
Raiders, right?
well, not the Raiders, but it's just, as you're retiring, we both kind of got elected our first round around the same time as Roy just spoke about. It's very tumultuous. One of the things I really want to do is really kind of break that mold. I wanted to come here and show the difference. There's a lot of people were just pulled into dark corners into the little groups and tribes. And I wanted to show people that you can be different. I want to show people that somebody, a 6'5", 300-pound black man could be proud to be shoulder to shoulder friends with officers, first responders, at a time in the country where it was unseen. And it was amazing. I've been all over this state and country, and I wish I can take a piece of every officer here and put you guys into other cities, because you guys don't know how special it is. It is something that I wish the communities all over America could know what it feels like to have Vacaville PD and be able to see that car go by, and the feeling that you have isn't fear or worried. It's actually, they're here to help. And just thank you for the culture and the character you guys have brought to the city.
Councilmember Chapman.
Thank you. Stop smiling. I've already had my personal chat with the chief, and I want to make certain that, same as I did for another person that was leaving, I want to make sure that everything was okay, because this notice was very short. However, I think a lot of the chief, especially here lately, we have a mutual friend that is very special to me, and the family speaks very highly of the chief and his family. And with that, that's enough for me. And so to ditto, to concur with what has already been said, thank you for the service that you have rendered, and I wish you the best.
And Councilmember Royal.
I just wanted to say thanks for all you do for everyone in Vacaville and beyond. It's been wonderful, and good luck in your retirement. Thank you.
And Councilmember Roberts.
Yeah, just quick thanks, Chief. You've always been very responsive to everything I needed, and I think now it might be actually easier to schedule our monthly meetings or so. So hopefully a bit more fun meetings now that you don't have to deal with city business. So yeah, thanks again. Appreciate all your work.
Yeah, thank you very much, and it's well-deserved, and so congratulations. And we have one more presentation tonight, and it is the Helen Putnam Award for Excellence. This award presentation, and I do believe that there will also be short video that we're going to get to see. And so from the League of Cities, it's an honor for you to be here tonight. Actually, you know what? There was another, sorry about that. Just hold off. Hold off. There is one other presentation to be made. So I think Chief Smutsler, you need to come back down here. It's the Chief Smutsler hour. And so.
Not the 31st yet.
It's not the 31st yet. So you're receiving a certificate from the Assemblymember Wilson's office in honor of your dedicated service. So why don't you gentlemen come on down here.
All of your praises. Congratulations and wish you the best in your retirement. I just want to say it.
All right, there are no more, so you forgot something.
No longer being detained.
You're no longer being detained. There will be a formal walkout at some point, which is tradition in the police department. So I look forward to seeing that as well. And now for the League of Cities Helen Putnam Award for Excellence. It is pretty exciting, and I'm glad that you're able to come tonight. We had the opportunity to receive this award at the conference, but prior to that presentation, can we cue up the video and actually show our community the reason for why this award exists, and then I'll allow you to have the floor from there.
Vacaville's Summer at City Hall program is helping high school students enter the workforce and boost civic engagement. The 4-week program blends classroom education with internships in city departments. Each student receives a stipend and a Chromebook to keep. Students gain insights into local government, city, and job skills, while the city learns more about the next generation. Over 100 students, many from underprivileged backgrounds, have completed the program. It's workforce development, civic participation, and youth empowerment rolled into one holistic program.
And this video was shown at the conference to all the statewide constituents who showed up. And well, I'll turn it over to you so you can explain even more why it's so prestigious and how the selection process works. But we're so excited that the city of Vacaville was honored to receive this prestigious award, and our community should and needs to feel proud for what we have here. So.
All right, thank you. It's my turn now.
Yes.
Good evening. I am Nancy Hall Bennett. I'm with the League of California Cities, and thank you for having me here tonight to celebrate. It is a celebration. It's a pleasure, really. I'd like to say a little bit about the award. The Helen Putnam Award was named after Helen Putnam. She was of Petaluma, and she was the first woman elected to the president of the League of California Cities Board of Directors in 1978. She was also a mother, a school teacher, a principal, a mayor, and then a county supervisor. Excellence to Helen Putnam was shown by someone who did their very best and shared that with their community. In her honor, Cal Cities established the Helen Putnam Award in 1982 to recognize the outstanding achievements of excellence in California's 483 cities. With this award, each year Cal Cities awards only 10 cities each year. This year, we received over 175 applications. It's a very prestigious and competitive award. The winners were announced in Long Beach at our annual conference, and there, your mayor and your city manager accepted the award in front of over 1,000 colleagues and elected officials. We were very happy to have you there. Today, I'm here to present the award at home amidst the community, as the community deserves to celebrate as well. Vacaville received this award in the category of engaging youth in city government for the City Hall program, the Summer at City Hall program. The program empowers high school students with an educational opportunity to earn high school credits combined with a paid internship where students acquire job readiness skills, job shadowing, and work experiencing through city department leads. Sounds pretty good. To the mayor, to the council, and to the city manager, I congratulate you on your commitment to partnering with the local schools while supporting youth. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for fostering this opportunity of collaboration and mentorship for the youth. I know you join me in thanking your partners. Ed Sanopadre, the superintendent of the Vacaville School District. Brian Davis, history and government teacher, along with several of their colleagues and staff from the district's technology and food services department. And here in the city, Judith Franco, youth development manager, I think she's here. Andrea Gonzalez, youth development senior program coordinator. Regina Cycles, senior human resources analyst, as well as the support of many staff members from the police department, family resource center, and youth service sections, human resources, and across the city. It's a collaborative effort, it sounds like, with all hands on deck for students and the youth here. It's a very prestigious award, a very competitive award, and very well deserved. Congratulations.
It's important to understand, several of us have participated as staff, but this partnership is unique. And I know at the league, there were so many people who thought, when they saw this program, what a novel and incredible experience where you're bringing students in the summertime and having staff participate in placing them into the various departments to learn. And it is really neat to see it over the years. I saw it as a department head and now as the mayor, but it really goes to our staff and also several of us who have gone through the program, right? And even a City of Vacaville employee, well, you got your shirt on too, for sure. So that's what we would know and we would recognize them, but they would have class in here, but then they would also then be embedded in different departments and they would get credit for it. I mean, what a novel program. So with that, I couldn't be prouder, and I think it really speaks of the innovation that our city has. So the congratulations goes to not only Ed Santa Padre and the school district and the partnership, but in all the faculty that participates and all the students that have been part of it and all of our staff that made it all happen. So congratulations to everyone that's here representing so many other people, because I believe there's been over 100 graduates at this point. So with that, we're going to take a photo.
Nancy. Good seeing you, baby.
Got another one for next year.
Just keep bringing the ideas. Thank you. Yeah, that it really is exciting to see all the opportunity and the energy with these students. And part of the program is some may never know how much opportunity you can achieve in public service, and anything from working within planning to the city manager's office or the city attorney's office. The students are placed and they walk away with a better understanding. And so pretty exciting that we, not only that we have the program, but that the state recognized it at the League of Cities. All right, we're gonna move on to item 6. It's the consent calendar. And is there any member of the council needing to or wishing to pull an item? Councilmember Stockton?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tonight, I am recusing myself from participating in consent calendar item 6A regarding the North Village project because I live within 500 feet of the project site. I have been informed by the city attorney that because item 6A is a consent calendar item, I can remain in my seat and in the room during the vote on that item. For clarity, I would request a motion and a vote on item 6A separately from the remainder of the consent calendar items.
Thank you. Councilmember Chapman?
Due to some late information that was, or due to some information that we received late this afternoon, I would like to pull item 6A
Okay, for discussion?
for discussion, yes.
Okay. All right. Other than H and J, any member of the public wishing to pull an item? Okay.
6A. Now I'm gonna have to leave.
Just which item, if you could share?
6A?
6A?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, let me get through some procedural things first. So H and J is already going to be pulled. So all other items except for H, J, and A. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Hold on a second. Okay, which one? 6D? Okay. So
Isn't David?
A and D, okay. So 6A and D being pulled, and then H and J are also going to be pulled. So do I have a motion on all the other items on consent calendar 6? Motion, second?
Second.
We have motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so on the items of A and D, we'll take up item A first. And you wanted to pull it different than him or Councilmember Stockton recusing himself. So he's recused, but you can stay up here. So,
Okay, we received a communication about 3:30 this afternoon, and it was extremely lengthy. I didn't have an opportunity to read it in its entirety because of its length. However, there were some areas that they identified that that did bring about a question as to why we chose the language that we did instead of the language as it was originally written. So
with that, I think, well, I see that you have something to share.
I was just, excuse me, going to ask for clarification about which language you're referring to. And I agree with you. It was a rather lengthy 63-page document that certainly we have not had the opportunity to vet the whole thing. I do know that the CEQA concerns that were raised have been fully vetted previously. There were some issues raised about whether it was properly noticed. We vetted that. We do believe that the item was properly noticed both last time and this time, and that there was no information that would lead to a misunderstanding by the public. So I can speak to those items.
Okay, and if I may, so I can go to the exact areas in the document that we received. And it's primarily the way the code was written, and then the language that we chose to use. It appeared that it could bring about some confusion to a person, to a resident that may come forward with a request, as if they wouldn't know the choices, or there was a choice or an option for them other than what was written the way we had it.
So if you're speaking about the way the specific plan was noticed, I'm not sure if that's the
That's one of
particular
the
issue.
areas.
So the specific plan, as my understanding that it was actually what was approved was an amendment to the specific plan, not a brand new specific plan. So again, we believe it was noticed appropriately.
Okay, so even the concerns in regards to CEQA and the environment, EIR, yes, that because of the age of the CEQA, 1995, and because the plan in itself is totally different than what was initially submitted back in 95. It's almost something brand new, according to what I was reading. And because of the changes that have occurred, in the area thus far, it would appear that possibly another CEQA should be done. And it made me also think about a reserve. Maybe there is an area out there with inhabitants that we're infringing upon that, and that's not identified. So there were, the things that they highlighted as a concern, and then I read your reply, the response to them, but it still would lead some question.
So a couple of things. I will respond that the CEQA issue and the age of the CEQA documents has been vetted. We have a CEQA consultant that assisted the city with that particular document and those findings. But I may also defer to our community development director that has been intimately involved with this project as well.
Thank you, Councilmember Chapman. The city did prepare an environmental analysis of the North Village project. We prepared something called an addendum with the help of our environmental consultant, and it looked at the increment of change, the difference between the approved project and the new project, and found that the environmental effects of that were still within the bounds of that original EIR. But I guess I want to make sure the council's clear that those findings and that analysis was clearly documented in the addendum document, and that document has been presented to the council and the planning commission and been available to the public actually for a couple of years now. It's not a settled issue because we're still working on getting the project to its final approval, but it's been very well vetted thoroughly over the last 4 years.
Okay, and if I recall, it was mentioned that an amendment was made even prior to the project being submitted?
If I understand the question, yes, this project has changed and been redone several times over the last 4 to 5 years. Some of it's been in direct response to council comments and direction on changes that the council would like to see in order to be able to get behind the project. But yes, this project has evolved over time. We've had numerous community meetings. We've been at the Planning Commission at least 3 or 4 times, presented this project thoroughly. There's been a lot of transparency about making it clear to the public what exactly is this new project. But yes, it has changed over the years. That's why we've had so many meetings and sharings about it.
And I appreciate that, all the hearings. We have one coming up again tomorrow or whatever. But, okay, so the mention of possible litigation. I think I recall there was a statement in there to prevent or preclude us from the possibility of being litigated. Are we comfortable with what is being presented, that the questions that were raised in this article, did you receive it as well?
Yes.
Did you have a
Yes.
chance to read it? Came in late this afternoon. for
We're
me.
accustomed to reading very large documents quickly, so I can't say that I've read every single word, but we did go through every point and reviewed there's about 6 different issues that it raises. And this is from a planning, community development perspective. We also have lawyers looking at it too. From my department's perspective, we don't think they've raised any new issues that haven't been addressed in the previous actions of the city or in the work that's been done. They raised things like we didn't consult with the tribes, and that's actually factually not true. We did do that, and we can go into those point by point. But we really didn't find anything in this letter that raised an issue from, not from a legal, that's Melinda, but from a planning perspective. We think we have our bases covered with this project.
Okay. Feel the same?
Well, what I'll do is I'll open up, there was a gentleman here that wanted to make a comment on that as well, so. I'll open up to the public for comment on 6A.
Good evening, council, community members, Mayor Carley. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Sergio Barajas. I'm a field representative with the NorCal Carpenters Union, Local 180, which covers Solano County. I'm here to talk about our core values, which we represent with the Carpenters Union. Our goal is to provide a knowledgeable apprenticeship program, providing extensive health benefits for our workers, encouraging local employment opportunities for our members, and labor standards. Our statewide apprenticeship program is essential to ensuring quality work. It is designed to create a new generation of skilled carpenters who are trained in the latest technologies and strategies. Our apprenticeship does not only train our members, but instills a sense of
I
pride.
want to interrupt you. This is not business from the floor. This is item 6A. So are you speaking to item 6A, which is the North Village? Okay.
Yeah.
Proceed.
Our apprenticeship does not only train our members, but instills a sense of pride, responsibility, and craftsmanship. By investing in our programs, we ensure our workforce is competitive and able to meet the needs of this industry's ever-evolving demands. Another key part of our values is our commitment to providing healthcare for our workers. Carpentry is physically demanding, so it is essential for our workers to have access to these benefits for them and their families. These benefits not only include immediate medical care, but preventative care and long-term health support. A healthy workforce is a dynamic workforce, and by prioritizing our workers' health, we ensure that they can contribute tactfully and safely. Another one of our pledges is to hire locally. When we hire locally, we strengthen our local communities by creating economic growth that is reflected in the local business, which will increase prosperity of our communities. Local workers tend to be more vested in projects that are their own neighborhood, resulting in higher quality work and shorter commute hours. Furthermore, local employment reduces the carbon footprint associated with commuting, contributing to our environmental sustainability goals. Labor standards is just a number. It represents the fair wages that tradesmen and women deserve and work hard for. These wages allow workers to support them and their families, contribute to the local economy, and ensure high-quality work that impacts infrastructure and safety. Without labor standards, these developers and contractors will take advantage of the workers, paying low wages without benefits, and it's not only a disservice to the workers, but the community as well. In conclusion, our core values include dedication to our apprenticeship training, comprehensive health benefits, our pledge to local hire, and labor standards. These values are essential to maintaining a skilled and healthy craftsmen and women, creating a ripple effect into our communities and the youth. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak on this item? Or I'm going to go ahead and close the public portion of that item 6A. I do appreciate answering the questions and the confidence in that. Sometimes it is hard when something comes in late. So it's not always wanting to feel like you're being second guessed, but it's that last effort before something gets voted on, it becomes policy. And so I appreciate that. I am fully aware that a lot of the reason in the delay is because, there's issues that are outside of our control, but some of it came from this council. Providing direction on what we wanted to see in that project. So with that, I'm comfortable moving forward with it, but I would be looking for a motion. You have a motion? Second? Second. You have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So it passes. Thank you very much. And sometimes it is concerning because of the age of the project. So we're going to go ahead and move to item 6D. This was pulled from the public. And so what I'd like to do is have the member of the public come forward and make your comments. And then I'll likely have staff respond.
Members, I'm Chris Robles, and I thank you for the opportunity to address you this evening. Read the report, and the report provides, it identifies it's providing transparency, but I found it lacking in identifying the true cost of service and who pays for it. My interest is in the public safety CFDs, not CFD 13, which is for infrastructure. CFDs for infrastructure have robust reporting requirements for bidding, invoicing, payment, and physical verification of improvements. The CFDs for public safety, however, are very vague and do not provide any such accounting. The city needs to right-size its CFDs for safety for all of its residents and appropriately fund police and fire, as it's the most important services the city provides. I've reviewed the enabling documents and rates and methods for all the city's CFDs and find that they unfairly burden the city's existing residents. Each of the CFDs allocates 100% of the cost burden of the safety services to its residents. This is despite the fact that residential land uses only occupy 55% of the city's land area. Approximately 45%, which are comprised of industrial, commercial, office, and other land uses, basically get a free ride under this cost allocation. Presently, the city's CFDs range from $200 to $2,400, and there is no justification for a differential in cost of service based on geography or service demand. By example, Mayor, your neighborhood has some of the lowest calls for service in the city, yet you pay the most. Given the property tax bill that you pay and the safety assessment you pay, you likely pay for 2 additional homes besides your own. A standardized CFD safety rate citywide would better serve the city's residents. Further compounding the inequity, the calculation for assessment rates does not consider offsetting revenues the city receives from residents. These revenues include property tax, vehicle license fee, Measure M, sales tax, and others. The city also collects development impact fees for capital improvements for both police and fire. Since the CFD assessment does not discount for impact fees received, it could be construed that the city is double dipping on those revenues. As the safety CFDs exist today, the city is collecting fees in excess of the cost of service, and the city has the authority to adjust that assessments to correct that collection. I request that the City Council reject the report that's been provided to you this evening and direct staff to return with a recommendation for a standardized CFD rate for application to all of the existing safety CFDs in the city and future safety CFDs. This rate should be prorated based on the land use, and the assessments should be adjusted for offsetting revenues that the city receives from its residents. The city does not need a consultant to prepare this recommendation, as senior staff is aware of this existing condition and they already have the cost and revenue information. And with that, I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Since it's open to the public, I would either invite anyone from the public, and if not, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Ken if you want to answer some questions. All right. I think I can get you, there you go. Sir?
Is it working?
Yes.
Rich Alexander, part of the east of Leisure Town project. And I just want to concur with Chris, what he's saying. These CFDs have gotten a little bit out of control, and I'd like to see a little bit more, how do I want to say, a little bit more leveling of them. The difference of some of them being down as low as 300 and some of them 2,500. And yet the city, I think, is profiting from their new residents that we want into town. We're trying to create a workforce, living environment, but yet at the same time that we are trying to create individuals to come in and to work in this town and live in this town. We're penalizing them, and the city is making a profit via the CFDs. I think there's been enough studies done on this that have shown this, and I agree with Chris on his request.
Thank you. All right, we can bring it back to staff or into the council, but Ken, can you go ahead and answer some questions and maybe a further explanation of what this is and some of the work that you've been working on?
Sure. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the council. And so just for clarification, tonight's item is an annual report that we're required to report under Senate Bill 165. And the purpose of the report is really to show how much we're collecting through CFD taxes and then what are those taxes being used for. And that's really the purpose of the report, is to show that we are collecting the CFD taxes, for what CFDs those are for, and then for what purposes. And so for all of our CFDs other than CFD 13, those are for public safety, whereas the CFD 13, the Lagoon Valley one, is for infrastructure, public safety. There's also lighting and landscape and those services that are part of that. The comments that were raised related to how CFDs are formed, the fiscal analysis, how much revenues they bring in. That's not the subject of tonight's report, but understanding that there's interest in that topic, and especially with new development, sort of the impact of growth and services and the revenues they bring in. With the Eastern Leisure Town specific plan area, there is going to be fiscal analysis that's required for that. That's going to be a big component of the planning for it. And so for the RFP that we have put out there for having that analysis done, one of the tasks identified was to come up with CFD methodology. Like, what are the industry standards? What is the best practice? Because a lot of the city CFDs, they were formed in the early 2000s. So we are talking about 20 years ago. And so really, for in the current environment, what is the best standard for kind of determining how much revenue those developments are going to generate, and what's the service cost, the type of services that are out there. And so the contract for that work is going to be coming to council next month. And the plan is for kind of the methodology and that discussion to come back to council in late spring. And so there will definitely be time to talk about that methodology, but a lot of the issues that were raised are things that are going to be discussed as part of that CFD methodology discussion in late spring.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I know this sometimes has been of concern over time of how this works, but I am aware that this RFP is going out and that we're trying to understand what is the more modern methodology to look at. And so so this is just the state's requirement, and then in January, you'll be coming back up with the RFP.
Yes, in January, it's actually our community development directors that will be coming back with that contract, and then that the results of that CFD methodology work will be coming back separately in the late spring.
Okay. Councilmember Wiley.
Thank you for this information in the annual report. And I did see that it says it covers public safety. And that's one thing that some people who are, particularly in District 6, there's quite a few people that pay in the CFD 11. And they say, well, we're paying for a lot of public safety, but I don't see any more on my street than someone else's street, although we do have a new firehouse in District 6. So I think there's just some confusion when people don't quite understand what other things it goes to besides that. But then in the report, it showed how much the CFD 11 brings in, which is, woefully short of the total cost of police and fire, for the city of our size. So I do think it'll be great to take a look at it, later on, because it seems like there are some CFDs that are different rates and higher, impact the people in District 6 quite a bit. So you said the CFDs mostly started in the 80s. So what was in place before that, or what necessitated a need for them now?
Sure. So I think it's just CFD1 that was in the late 80s, and then most of the other ones. And so 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, they were formed in the early 2000s. So basically from 2000 to 2005. And so some of the differences that you'll kind of find there is that, like for CFD1, the goal of that CFD at the time was just to fund 25% of operating Fire Station 74. Whereas with kind of the newer ones in the early 2000s, understanding the kind of the costs related to public safety, those were meant to fully fund the cost of public safety. And so those are the differences there as far as kind of what has changed to where CFDs are more prevalent now. It's kind of Prop 13, I guess prior to Prop 13 in 1978, property tax, there were local government and kind of the way property tax revenues would come to local government was quite a bit different to where after Prop 13 in 1978, 1979, there's a limit placed on property tax and how much that can grow every year. And so with that, local governments didn't have kind of the same amount of revenue to provide the services they did prior to that change. And so that's where CFDs have become more prevalent for services. And then on the infrastructure side for making, to fund the infrastructure required to have development go forward. If that answers the question.
All right. And I am glad that it was pulled and we had a short discussion on it tonight, because it is something that comes up a lot when residents are talking to me about the CFD. So thanks for a brief discussion tonight.
Yeah, thank you. All right, with that, it's still a consent item that requires a motion.
Motion approved.
Motion and second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, we'll look forward to the work ahead in the new year. So I appreciate the quick update. And yes, sometimes it is a topic of conversation in the community, especially as we are trying to form the basis when we're looking at east of Leisure Town and new development. It's more appropriate. A lot of times what we do here is, okay, there is a service level, but many of us can recall when we started the BOLD pilot program, there's infrastructure. There's, we don't have redevelopment anymore. And so it's really about looking at how do we do this in the future as a city. With that, we're going to go now to business from the floor, item 7. This is the time to address the council on any item that's not on the agenda that is within our jurisdiction. And please come forward and be ready. You have 3 minutes, and good evening.
My topic tonight is an answer to the revisiting of the subject of Vacaville's flag display policy, a motion brought up at the last meeting. The reason given for the revisit was so-called bad press given to Vacaville, and that translates in as the mayor's refusal to endorse with his signature the proclamation attending the allowance for the LGBTQ plus flag to be flown on a Vacaville public flagpole. The probable objective of this revisit would no doubt be to add to the policy statement the requirement that the mayor endorse by signature the city council's approved declarations. By the way, did these so-called bad press releases also mention that the city council denied Vacaville's Christian community equal rights privileges to fly their flag under the legal protections of limited open forum? I don't believe these objective press reports did that. Should the quest for a revisit come up again, it would be informative to consider the following points. Number 1, the United States Constitution. Article 6, Clause 2 affirms that the United States Constitution and the laws made in pursuance thereof shall be the supreme law of the land. Number 2, the Constitution of the State of California. Article 3, Section 1 states, the United States Constitution is the supreme law of the land. Number 3, Black's Law Dictionary, 5th edition. The definition of the term supreme, superior to all other things. California, point number 4, California Constitution, Article 20, Section 3, oath of office for public officers and employees, of which you all swore to. I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California. At the end of it, I take the obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion. The First Amendment of the United States Constitution says Congress shall make no laws respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free speech thereof. Consequently, freedom of speech was confirmed, an individual citizen's right through the 14th Amendment and subsequent court rulings. The California Constitution, Article 1, Declaration of Rights, every person may speak freely. Mayor Carley, when assuming the office of Vacaville Mayor, did you agree to forfeit or waive any of your constitutional rights in written contractual form? Did you waive any of your rights as a citizen?
This is your time. You can raise the question.
That would be the whole point. I don't believe you did. That being the case, your First Amendment right to speech, to free speech also includes your right to not only abstain from speech, but to not be compelled to speak as well. You abstained from endorsing the gay flag proclamation as written. You had the legal right to do so. Vacaville, being a general law city, derives its authority to enact ordinances and policies from the California Constitution and the state statutes. Should the Vacaville City Council Vote to require the mayor or any other city official to endorse verbally or in written form any policy or proclamation position contrary to that official's beliefs, this city council would be in violation of the above mentioned constitutional free speech rights guaranteed to that official.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. At the end of last city council meeting, one of the council members, whose name I shall not mention, decided to try to revisit the issue that was very divisive, that took up a lot of time during 2023 over the flagpole. That is a social issue. People were very upset over it. A lot of time was spent on that. There's a lot of things going on here in Vacaville and in Solano County that require the city council's attention. This isn't it. It's frivolous. Grow up. There's so many things that are absolutely detrimental to this city that the council needs to pay attention to. There's the fact that the state of California is working really hard to take away our water supply, that the state is forcing us to allow for very highly polluting battery storage facilities, which are utterly useless, but we're going to wind up having to take those. Why would we spend time fighting over an issue that has more or less been resolved? There's a lot of things that could be done. You know, we have so many issues that the city needs to focus on that would unify the people who live in this city, because what's out there is detrimental to all of us. And yet, some of you council members, it wasn't just the one, there was a couple of you that voted to revisit that issue. I hope by now you've reconsidered and realized just how frivolous going down that path again would be. Thank you.
And thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Roy Sheets. I live on Reading Way, which is just off of Leisure Town Road. I have a complaint and a suggestion, and I would like a comment from somebody on the council to my suggestion. 2 or 3 months ago, a contractor came out to our neighborhood and put down the, I think you call it slurry. In that 2 or 3 months, we've seen cracks develop in the surface, but the real complaint here is that we have these little BBs that slough off of this slurry. I have cleaned up and disposed of literally pounds of these little BBs. We track them into our house. We track them into our garage. I think that is totally unacceptable to our neighborhood and to the other areas of the city where this has been happening. My suggestion is, well, first of all, I think there's the problem either with the contractor not doing the proper job or the product being put down on the surface. And my suggestion would be to either find another contractor or to find another product that be put down. And I would just like somebody's comment about what is going to happen in the future.
Thank you. We're not in a position to comment, but I'd like to start the conversation with our Public Works Director, Brian McLean, if you could connect. And that way we have a mechanism to be able to get back to the council. And that's yes, that's right. Yeah, thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? And anyone else who's wanting to, go ahead and you can begin to form a line as it approaches for time. Thank you. Good evening.
Evening. I feel like Yogi Bear, you know, it's like deja vu all over again. I came here tonight just because I thought we are going to have a happy time to talk about bringing in new council and so on. But I do want to just say a word. I do want to voice my public support for you, Mayor Carl. Sought to unite the community around our American flag. So appreciate that. There's tremendous maturity and care for the community. We have big issues. I have championed for years the homeless. We poured tens of thousands of dollars into the homeless. The medically disadvantaged, we have bought technology in the tens of thousands for those issues. Women that are being abused, we have taken a strong stand in that area. Feel very personal about that. Prejudice, bigotry. We are absolutely on the front lines of speaking out against that. And came here tonight with my Rotary friends because we're excited about being here. But I do want to share with you that as a member of Rotary, as someone who's run a business corporation, as well as being a pastor, I'd like to clear up some misunderstandings by the council. And I just want to help you, a couple of you here, and I appreciate those of you that have stood. But we were told in our last meeting that this is all about attracting a workforce and attracting business. I do want to remind you that the radical, divisive policies of this state, which, by the way, you need to look at a poll today, 50% of Californians are very unhappy with our economic policies. But you need to look at the numbers because I'm a numbers guy. Hundreds of thousands of people have left this state. Hundreds of significant businesses and businesses that are headquartered here have left this state. And where are they going? Texas, Florida. In fact, Texas is the #1 place. They're going to a place that has friendly policies, socially sane policies for people. Now, these are the facts. And we don't need some elitists trying to manipulate facts and misrepresent facts in this community. We're smart people. And we've got a lot of smart people here tonight. They understand these issues. And what we'd like for you to do is listen to the people. Tell us the truth. Another statement that was made is that suddenly this issue just came up. You hadn't heard from anybody. I can tell you personally that scores and scores of people called you. And I do want to encourage you to be honest as individuals. Tell the truth. Look at the real facts. Listen to what Californians are doing. Another thing is everybody is heading a certain direction on this issue. If I wanted to live in another county, I would move there. I want to live in Vacaville. I don't want to be like everyone else. We are unique. We are special.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Next, please. Good evening.
Good evening. We would like to present a certificate for outgoing Councilmember Jason Roberts, just in honor of his achievements. So Jason Roberts has proudly served as council member and vice mayor for Vacaville's District 5, demonstrating a steadfast commitment to the community he has called home for many years. A distinguished 16-year Army veteran with 2 deployments to Afghanistan with special operations, Jason has brought his values of discipline, leadership, and service to his role, shaping policies and initiatives that benefit the residents of Vacaville. Jason's educational achievements include earning 2 bachelor's degrees from the University of California, Davis, reflecting his dedication to continuous learning and growth. The remainder will be read by my colleague.
And also, Jason's leadership as council member has focused on addressing economic and social challenges, supporting local businesses, promoting community-based workforce development, and fostering equality and safety for all. And also Jason's vision, integrity, and unwavering dedication have left an indelible mark on the city of Vacaville, inspiring them through his demonstrated commitment to public service and the well-being of all residents. So now.
So on behalf of the Senate and Assembly, we'd like to present this.
Why don't you come forward and
I would like to end by saying that if anybody has any issues with state agencies, I staff the assembly member for Vacaville, Mohammed Umbashi. Just if you have a problem, just call our office, ask for Mohammed. Even they'll relay you to me because I staff Vacaville. And I'm going to leave a stack of my business cards at the back next to the agenda for anybody to take, just so you guys have it.
Thank you.
I also just want to comment, we encourage a lot of folks to reach out to our office, to State Senator Cabaldo's office. We are here right now in Vacaville. We welcome in-person visitors as well. Phone calls, we're ready to serve you guys.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and close business from the floor, and we will move on to item 8A. Mr. City Manager.
Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the City Council, this first item before you tonight is a public hearing for Tax Equity Fiscal Responsibility Act for tax exempt bond financing. Tamara Colden, our Housing and Community Services Director, is here with a presentation.
And before we begin the presentation, we're going to take a procedural step, and I'm going to turn it over to Councilmember Silva.
I have to recuse myself to the bar. Oh, wait, sorry, I read that wrong. Sorry, guys. On the way in, I was notified that I have to recuse myself from this item, so I'm just going to read this script that was prepared for me to make sure we do it justice, not my other legalese. Recusal from 8A. Tonight, to avoid a conflict of interest, I'm recusing myself from participating in item 8A regarding consideration of approving bonds for the Gables apartments because my residence located within 500 to 1,000 feet of the apartment boundary. I will leave the meeting until notified that the item is complete.
All right, so we will turn the presentation over, and welcome.
Thank you, Mayor Carley, Vice Mayor, council members. Tonight, I am here to request that council conduct a public hearing under the Tax and Equity Fiscal Responsibility Act, or TEFRA, hearing for the benefit of Ledge Vacaville LP, and adopt a resolution approving the issuance of bonds for the rehabilitation of Vacaville Gables apartments. A little bit of background. In 2019, City Council approved Ledge to assume the existing debt and affordability restrictions on the Vacaville Gable apartments. At that time, Council also approved an extension of 2 existing loans and the city's affordability restriction agreement to August 1st of 2026 to match anticipated new housing revenue bonds senior funding for the project. At that time, some rehabilitation work was planned with the proceeds of the funding. Unfortunately, Ledge was subsequently unsuccessful in securing that funding, and from 2019 to 2023, Ledge sought several tax credit funding competition to complete the full scope of the planned improvements. But again, those applications were unsuccessful. On April 23rd of this year, Council approved modifying the debt by extending the maturity date to 2079, as well as the affordability restrictions, again, extending those to 2079, in order to increase the competitiveness of Ledge's applications. And in August of this year, Ledge was successful in securing bond funding for the project. The California Statewide Communities Development Authority, or CSCDA, is a joint powers authority sponsored by the League of California Cities and the California State Association of Counties, and was created to enable local governments and private entities to access low-cost tax-exempt financing. In order for the bonds to qualify as tax exempt, the city must conduct a public hearing providing members of the community an opportunity to speak in favor or against the use of the tax bonds for the financing of the project. Adoption of the resolution is for the purpose of satisfying the requirements of the Tax Equity and Fiscal Responsibility Act. If bond issuance is approved, repayment of the bonds is the sole responsibility of Ledge, and the city will not be a party to the documents or have any financial or other responsibility for Vacaville Gable Apartments or the repayment of the bonds. Ledge will make repayments over the next 30 to 35 years from rents generated by the project, and in no case shall the bonds exceed $20 million. Alternatively, this council could choose not to hold the TEFRA hearing or adopt the resolution. This alternative is not recommended, as this is required for Ledge to meet tax credit financing requirements to access the funds needed to make property improvements to the Vacaville Gable apartments. So staff's recommending that council hold the public hearing and by simple motion adopt the resolution approving the issuance of the bonds by the California Statewide Communities Development Authority for the rehabilitation and preservation of 65 affordable apartments known as Vacaville Gables Apartments. Unfortunately, there was a conflict that arose with representatives for the project. However, I am happy to answer any questions to the best of my ability from council or from the public.
So they have a scheduling conflict, so they're unable to present tonight?
Correct.
Okay, so if there's questions, we'll direct them to you.
Correct.
I don't initially see any questions. Appreciate the staff report. I am going to open up this public hearing for any members of the public who wish to present their thoughts or their support, either for or against this bonds. So seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing and bring it back. Councilmember Stockton?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion and Councilmember Chapman seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Yeah, thank you very much. We'll move on to item 8B.
Mayor, we'll need to get Councilmember Silva back.
Yeah, that would be helpful. So if somebody wants to. Yeah. He might have thought that was going to take more time, so.
Take a minute if that's okay.
That's fine, yeah. Sorry, we didn't give you more time on your break. All right, thank you. You may proceed.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council. So the item for you tonight is a request to amend the city's ADU ordinance to conform with newly adopted state law that was passed in September. So in September 2024, the California legislature passed two bills, AB 2533 and SB 2011. And these are related to ADUs and primarily unpermitted ADUs and JDUs and replacement parking and multifamily ADUs. So these bills require the cities to basically update their ADU ordinance quickly so that we're in compliance on January 1st, 2025. So we've scrambled and brought this to the Planning Commission last month and bring it to City Council this month to make sure that our ordinance is in compliance with newly adopted state laws. So AB 2533, just a summary of what the law is. It's regarding unpermitted ADUs and JADUs. Currently, state law prohibits the city from denying a permit to legalize an unpermitted ADU that was constructed before 2018 if the denial is based on the ADU not complying with applicable building, state, or local ADU standards. There is an exception that allows the city to deny a permit if the city make a finding that correcting the violation is necessary to protect health and safety of the public. So AB 2533 expands that to include JADUs and moves the construction date cutoff from 2018 and 2020. It replaces the exception that I just mentioned with more specific requirement regarding local agencies finding that correcting the violation is necessary to comply specifically with standards specified in the Health and Safety Code, section 17920.3. SB 2011 is related to replacement parking. Right now, state law prohibits the city from requiring off-street parking to be replaced when a garage, carport, or covered parking structure is demolished. SB 2011 amends that to also include not requiring uncovered parking spaces to be replaced. Multifamily ADUs, currently state law allows the city to administratively approve qualifying building permit applications for ADUs within portions, quote, portions of existing multifamily dwelling structures that are not used as livable space. The term livable space was not previously defined, so SB 2011 adds new definition defining livable space as meaning a space and dwelling intended for human habitation, including living, sleeping, eating, cooking, or sanitation. Continuing with multifamily ADUs, state law right now allows existing and proposed multifamily dwelling units to have up to 2 detached ADUs. SB 2011 increases that number in terms of the detached ADUs for existing multifamily dwellings, to have up to 8 detached ADUs or as many detached ADUs as there are primary dwelling units on the lot, whichever is less. SB 2011 does not alter the number of ADUs that a lot with a proposed multifamily dwelling can have, which is still 2. So prior to the Planning Commission in November, we received a letter from the California Housing Defense Fund, and they had several pages that showed up, I think, that afternoon of the meeting. So we didn't get a chance to dive into it fully back then, but we did as part of this presentation to you. And then last night we received another letter from the same group. So I'm going to hand over to our Assistant City Attorney to talk about that.
How about now? Okay. Good evening, council members. Yes, so we received another letter from the same group raising many of the same concerns that we worked through with Planning Commission, discussed. Much of the letter is repetitive of those same claims. I will say, though, there's one particular area which we can get into in a little more detail because we'll be slightly modifying our recommendation tonight to reflect it. There's one specific, sort of a minor, nearly clerical change. It's just, they've identified in their letter, and I agree, there's one specific sentence in our ordinance that was just missed. We strike out a major portion of subsection F having to do with owner occupancy requirements, which is changing January 1st. We will no longer be able to require owner occupancy for ADUs, and so we need to strike that out of our ordinance. We struck it where it appears the first time where we're actually requiring it. We did not strike it inadvertently from a section where we reference it just below that. So we just are suggesting one minor change, which I think you were passed a one-pager that highlights the small change that we're looking to make. And that was the only part of their letter that I felt required action tonight. I think staff's position is we comply with state law. Residents are always encouraged to review the state law requirements in addition to the city's municipal code. I think weighing those two things together will answer most of their questions. They're always welcome to ask planning staff if they have questions remaining after their review of the law. But planning staff has and will continue to comply with state law, and I will continue to advise them on that. And we will always stay up to date with our ordinances, and to the extent that an update is required again in the future, we will bring that to the council and we will explain the reasoning for that. So that is the result of our review of their letter, which was relatively brief. We did get it last night for the meeting today. So we did our best to try and accommodate the change that did need to be made. And so I'm happy to help guide through that motion, although I think it's reflected on the slide as well, the change that we're asking for.
And just to sort of add to that, as you've noticed why we're here tonight, the state passed law in September, and there is a quick turnaround expected. So a lot of these do happen where state law does change. And we typically try to keep all of our code updates to have an annual update, but sometimes we are going to be forced to bring that before Planning Commission and Council separately from that. If we have a situation like this where a law is passed and the expectation to comply is a pretty quick one. So we'll continue to keep an eye on the ADU ordinance laws, like a lot of other laws that the state has. So again, you may see similar laws coming before you, changing our code to reflect sort of new state laws that are happening quite frequently, I would say. So in terms of our recommendation, so there's 2 recommendations, 2 items. One is to waive the full reading and by 4/5, 6 out of 7 roll call vote. Adopt as an urgency measure interim ordinance amending chapter 1409, 270-040, which is the ADU ordinance, to take effect immediately upon adoption with inclusion of additional revision to section F3 that our city attorney mentioned, identified on record by staff at the meeting of December 10th. And then for the standard ordinance, waive full reading, introduced for first reading by title only, standard non-urgency ordinance, amending the city's ADU ordinance.
And I'll just offer one more thing, which is the reason we're bringing both of these recommendations tonight. The urgency ordinance will allow our updated language to conform with state law when it kicks in on January 1st. So we will not be relegated back to state law while we work through the second reading and then the 30 days for the ordinance to take effect. So we are recommending the urgency ordinance to get our ducks in a row by January 1st. It'll take effect immediately if it passes by a 6/7 vote. But we are also recommending that you, as standard, introduce and waive the first reading of the same ordinance covering the same exact topic. But that way we'll bring it back to you for second reading and long-term adoption so that it will supplant the interim urgency ordinance when it naturally expires.
In January.
Right.
All right, yeah, thank you. Open up to the public in this hearing. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. Just a comment, nothing we can do about it, but once again, the state, the people in Sacramento have impacted our city. Whatever comments we make from the gallery really don't matter because you're under the gun, once again, from the supermajority in Sacramento. You need to either do something about that or quit endorsing those people. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing portion of this item and bring it back to the council. I will say that I do echo some of the same frustrations when you start reading this. It's not new. Pick your topic. The state legislature is really just taking away local rights. Sometimes there's good reason to make policy that helps, whether it's residents or businesses, but more often you read this policy and you realize this cities get in line, lockstep, we're telling you what to do. And so the legislature is becoming the de facto extension of every city council in California. And with this particular one, the one frustration is here's what you're going to do, and you have no bearing on parking. And it's like, what are you trying to do? And so once again, you see that these things are impacting our community. And so we do have to be in line with the state policy. However, we also don't have to stand by indefinitely as a city and as communities across the state. Representative in Sacramento needs to be heard. They were here earlier, and make sure that they hear it. Councilmember Stockton.
You said half of what I wanted to say, Mr. Mayor. If you don't like the way that your neighborhoods are beginning to look, this is the reason why. Because we have no control about people putting 8 ADUs in the backyard of a residence and parking in front of your house. What is the punishment if we don't approve this, Ms. Stewart?
Excuse me, I believe if we don't approve, if council does not approve it tonight, then it reverts to state law and our existing ordinance is ineffective.
Oh,
so the state then controls it anyway.
And Annie may want to add to that.
Yes, the only thing I will add is ADU law is kind of unique, although I don't know that it will be unique going forward, but they sort of threw in essentially a poison pill where they said for ADU law specifically, if the city adopts any part of an ordinance that is out of step with state law, the whole ordinance is null and void immediately. So when we bring these sort of little piecemeal updates, it's because they pass bills that only impact little subsections, but if we fall out of step, then our whole ordinance is null and void. So we try and stay ahead of it. If we don't adopt this, or if at any point we become out of step with state law, then as identified, we are still subject to the state law anyway. So we're back in the same position essentially.
So this is just like a vote for the perception of local control over this issue?
I will say, I suppose so.
Okay, then I would just ask that when we vote, we do a roll call, please.
It has to be a roll call.
Perfect.
So, all right. I believe Councilmember Chapman was next.
I spent a lot of time reading a lot of to us, and the reports that we received from the public. I find that, we were, in our ordinance, we were trying very hard to protect our property owners and their rights and provide safety in our communities. And the way our ordinance was written, it would do that. But now, if I read this correctly, the the, ooh, the house, the property owner does not have to be present in the house, nor occupy the ADU. You could have two different families in the units. That is unbelievable. I mean, when you're building a community and talking about safety and health issues, concerns, that doesn't sit well. Someone has to take ownership and be responsible on that property. So, you know, I appreciate the way the language was written in our ordinance, but it's very frightening, people. If you have an opportunity to read it, to read up on the ADUs and JADUs, it's heartbreaking.
And to the extent it's helpful, I will just offer, the only things we're looking to change in the ordinance are the things that we've been told we must change. This is not, a staff level policy call on the deed restrictions, the owner occupancy, things like that. We are just taking the stuff out that we've been told we have to take out. But I appreciate your
And so for
discussion.
clarification, we have city policy on these. This is just a piece of it that the state's ministerially saying you must do this. But if this council doesn't adopt this portion of it, we lose out on all of our policy. And that's detrimental because we do have issues that we can control, and we would still be right back in front having to do so. It's a poison pill.
Yeah, there are still a few areas here
But we
that,
still control our policy. It's just that they have stepped in to these areas and say, you must have your policy say these things. So in addition to what our policy is, they're just taking away the right on those areas. So
we do still have some few things in our ordinance that will remain in our ordinance for now, having to do with the limited local control that we do have. So we're not touching those until, we're told we have to.
Councilmember Wiley.
Thank you for the information. And one of the things that I believe it does do is try to prevent people putting any kind of ADU in their backyard, because it just seems like now there's more of a push to have ADUs, and at least this makes it follow some sort of rules. Because one thing you said that on like slide 2 or something, that if there was an unpermitted ADU and they try to get it permitted, we can't deny them permission, but then they would be a legal ADU. So I was wondering, do you have any idea like how many unpermitted ADUs we have? Or I know we don't go out looking for them, but do you just have any kind of feel for that?
I guess, and I'll see if, Paymon has any other information, but what I guess I would say is it's probably hard to even begin to identify, because if somebody has built an unsafe structure in their backyard and they've had someone living in it,
right,
if we weren't aware that someone was living in it, it would be hard to know. So I don't know that we'll have an exact number, or any sense of a number, but.
No, unfortunately, that's pretty difficult to do. But I mean, you're right. I think if there is any sort of not any, but there is some positive in terms of allowing people to legalize these units. And there are times where we sort of have panicked folks who are trying to either sell their home or have some improvements in their homes, and there's an unpermitted structure. So this does allow them to have permitted structures, which allows us to sort of have more, not control, but control for the purpose of safe conditions and permitted structures that meet building code and fire code.
Right. And so for that reason, I think there could be people that have unpermitted ADUs and are getting, their revenue and not following the rules. So, and they might be in unsafe conditions too. So I don't want, 8 ADUs in my backyard either, but I do understand the need for some sort of rules. And I commend the department for making those changes before January. The other thing is the owner occupied, because that, I believe, is a result of so many things that are coming in, like at Montessa and also at Vanden, where you're having, it's basically an apartment building, but they're spread out in separate, so it's all rentals. And so when you have businesses coming to Vacaville saying, we bought this land from the developer and we're putting this in here, that's not owner occupied. So I believe that part of this is to address those sorts of housing arrangements that will be new to Vacaville. Because at first we thought that might be a way that we could say, no, we can't have those. because it wasn't owner occupied. So I do see some issues with, you know, some of the ADUs if all of these came to pass, but it seems like a lot of the, you know, even though they're allowed, we haven't had a great influx of ADUs being built, you know, right next door. One went in across the street from me, and, you know, it's very nice. They worked for 2 years to get the permits, and so I have one in my neighborhood across the street. So I make a motion to pass this. Both of them, the waive it for the urgency and the second part, to bring it back so that then we have gone through the second hearing, so we have a chance to weigh in again if we need to, if we're ready to have a motion.
There might be another question, and I might have a question too, but then I'll turn it back over to you. Councilmember Stockton.
Yes, if you could, sorry to put you on the spot, but outside of what the state is changing, can you give me the highlights on what local control we still have over ADUs?
Yes, so the conditions are largely set forth, and I apologize, I don't think I brought the entire text of the ordinance, but there's a section, a subsection of the ordinance that essentially says, if you fall outside of what I'll call a bucket that are state exempt ADUs, so if an applicant comes in and they're proposing an ADU that checks these 5 boxes as far as size and where it's located on the property, setbacks, things like that, then the building department has to just give a building permit ministerially. However, a lot of people don't want to just check those boxes, they want something different with their ADU. And so when they fall outside of that bucket, then we do have power to talk about things like height, the architecture matching the main house. The setbacks can be a little variable based on, you know, our preferences as a city. There are a whole list of things. I think it's in subdivision C of the ordinance if you have it in front of you. But there's a section of our ADU ordinance that lays out the few things that we do have control over. So we are chipping away at that a bit with this update, but there will continue to be a number of items in our ordinance that we will have local authority over as long as our ordinance is valid.
With that, we did have a motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call.
Councilmember Stockton?
No.
Councilmember Silva?
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman?
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts?
Yes.
Councilmember Wiley?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Ritchie?
Yes.
Mayor Carley?
Yes. And so I think it's important, even as you move forward and bring it back, these are the kinds of things that as a council, we need to really pay attention when the legislature is trying to ministerially take that control away. I don't want to lose control that we do have, because a no vote would be right back in front of us. It would be this would just be a protest moment, but then we would be out of compliance. And we do have people that are trying to come to our city and use these policies that we have, and then we would not be able to address the valid applications that are in front of us. But I, for one, will be speaking to council, you know, to our constituents in Sacramento. And it is time that, even if we have to, at some point later on, send a letter on behalf of the council in protest to what Sacramento's doing, I would support that down the road as well. But that, I can't make that motion now, but I think that's how we feel. So thank you very much. All right, we'll move on to business, item 9A.
Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the City Council, this next item before you is a resolution adopting a professional services agreement for the preparation of a neighborhood plan with Mintier Harnish. We have Community Development Director Aaron Morris and Associate Planner Demir Powell with the presentation.
Good evening, Mayor Carley, Vice Mayor Ritchie, and City Council and all those in attendance. This item is a request to authorize the city manager or designee to enter into a professional services contract with Mintier Harnish to assist the city in preparing the Markham Callan neighborhood plan. For background on this request, on October 22nd, 2024, the city posted a request for proposals to select a consultant to assist in the preparation of a neighborhood plan for the Markham Callan neighborhood. The city received 5 consultant proposals and 2 were interviewed in the selection process. Mintier Harnish was selected based on their qualifications, their outreach plan, and experience with similar planning projects. This is the proposed neighborhood plan boundary. It consists of an area north of East Monte Vista Ave and is bounded to the east by the Browns Valley Parkway and is bounded to the west by Markham Avenue. It also includes areas just shy to the south of East Monte Vista Ave, bounded by Highway 80, and includes the Callan Street area. As for the scope of work, the proposed consultant proposed to include an evaluation of neighborhood opportunities and constraints, the identification of goals and recommended actions to improve neighborhood quality of life and the expansion of existing businesses, the identification and evaluation of opportunity sites for future development or redevelopment, and the preparation of a community engagement plan. And the proposed project schedule would be from early January 2025 to approximately December 2025 or early 2026. As for the community engagement, the consultant and staff will conduct community outreach and engagement through a variety of methods to reach the residents where they are, such as surveys, stakeholder interviews, meetings, community workshops, and pop-up events. Engagement materials will be provided in both English and Spanish. Engagement will include outreach to residents and businesses in the plan area, as well as outreach to organizations that are also in the area, such as the Vacaville Boys and Girls Club, the Markham Elementary School, the Markham Neighborhood Association, the Vacaville Police Activities League, amongst others. As for the cost and fiscal impact of this request, the proposed contract amount for the Markham Callan Neighborhood Plan is $120,000. Project will be entirely funded by the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, ARPA, and will not impact the city's general fund. And the recommendation for this request is by simple motion to adopt the subject resolution. Staff are available to answer any questions or comments you all may have.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. Go ahead and open up to the public for any comment on this item. We'll bring it back to the council. Councilmember Silva.
Yeah, thank you. 3 years, and it's finally here. I'm excited about that. Took a second election to make it happen, I guess. But thank you, Aaron, for your diligence on this, and actually thank you, council support, for allocating the ARPA funds on this. The key, actually Don Burris and Aaron Bush and I had a pretty good discussion, about 3 years ago, just on different strategies of how do we address some core fundamental concerns and issues of how we set people up to succeed economically. And I think that's really, to me, that's really what the key is for this particular item, that as we see throughout anywhere in this nation, lower income areas are going to be redeveloped. And as much as people don't want to see, certain type of housing, I think to me, it's very obvious that when that area gets redeveloped, from different type of projects, that we make sure that we identify ways to enhance our city, to enhance opportunities for all residents throughout our town. And with the De Colores Park in itself, I'm really very interested in seeing how we create a foundation of using this particular strategic plan on how to set people up who have that entrepreneur spirit and the ability to generate not just a small business, but wealth, not just for themselves, but for future generations to come. And I think the ultimate goal, there's in the attachment, if people get a chance to read the attachment, it's online. The ultimate goal is really to how do we create a space, another section within our city that complements other areas with respect to our downtown and across the freeway from Peabody. A lot of areas that we who grew up here always look as distinctly different. And I'm okay with being different. I love seeing actually the difference of opinions, different ways of life, different views of how we approach our own respective American dream without holding others down. And I think this particular plan has a tremendous opportunity to engage the community throughout our city, but particularly in the area, to create a town and a section of our town that we're all very proud of and that can complement build off the successes that other folks are having, to where their success will be our success, and our success will be theirs. Questions are, I didn't see in that list a couple organizations. Without getting into that, will there be efforts to explicitly target, like, for example, hosting like an actual small event for the small business owners in the area that have put a lot of time and effort and money into that, as well as some other facilities that have their own small organizations going on?
Yes, sir. That was just a preliminary list that we generated, but we're going to take a more in-depth look at all the businesses in the area, go door to door, make sure that we are engaging individually as well as a group, and invite those businesses and any other stakeholders to group meetings as well.
So in I'm just, the only concern I have is when we talk about engagement. I've read enough of these reports, and I'm very critical of that when people say, oh, we know how to engage diverse groups. What is that standard? What does that look like? Or what's the optimal outcome that we're looking for that is satisfactory?
Thank you for the question, Councilmember Silva. With the team we're proposing the city hire, and with existing city staff resources, multilingual staff in particular that we have, our goal is to really be where people are, not to request that they come to us. So that will take the form of pop-up events, like the ones we actually just did in the Peabody Allison Pacific Plan area, where I think in one afternoon in 2 hours, my staff talked to 60 people that were visiting a shopping center. Like literally they're shopping, we're there, we're talking to them about things that are important to them. But it would be pop-up events. And then the other thing that the city of Vacaville is newer at, that's something that we want to be able to try with this, is really connecting with organizations in the area and then asking them to help bring the folks that they know to us in that way. There's a term for that called like utilizing trusted networks, but the goal is to leverage existing established groups and to help get the message to them about why this plan's important, why people should participate, so they invite people that are trusted by them to connect with us. But we're going to be trying out a lot of different strategies during this very busy one-year planning effort, and we're also open to other ideas people have. If the council approves this contract tonight, we're going to kick off in January, and there's certainly time for people's ideas of either groups haven't identified yet, or approaches that you think would be helpful to this effort.
And this plan, based on collective feedback between staff and residents' input and business owner input, is that like what does that do? What's the benefit of that?
So the goal plan has numerous goals, but one of the goals is to identify ways to improve the social and economic mobility of residents in the neighborhood. So that's going to come in a variety of ways for people that live there, businesses that are there. So ultimately, the plan will be a set of action items that the city can take or that others can take to achieve those goals, that being one of the goals. It also, in my experience preparing for neighborhood plans, has been a while, but part of it is getting community consensus about what's going to be most helpful to the people that this plan is trying to help, and then figuring out how to accomplish those things that are most important to the community. So it'd be an action plan at the end of 2025.
And does this document allow us to be more competitive for grants?
It should be good. Yes,
Grants?
That is another goal.
Thank you.
Thank you. Would you like to make a motion?
I'll motion to approve.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Well, thank you very much. I know that this isn't our first plan like this, as Councilmember Silva acknowledged. We do have others like the Peabody and down. So it's going to be helpful to elevate the area and give us a strategy in the future. So the hope is that even as we learn things that may be a year-long process, as always, we never have to wait when a good idea pops up to begin to really ruminate on an idea that we can actually implement before you get the white glove report, right? There's an outcome that's active, and sometimes some good things can come before you even look for that final report. So be looking forward to hearing what this is, and I know that just looking at the firm that we've hired, they're exceptional in their experience, and so I'm confident that we're gonna get out of it what it is that we're looking for. So thank you. We'll move on, Mr. City Manager.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the City Council. This next item before you are a couple of resolutions aimed at the funding of the Rancho Lagunitas Detention Basin Project. Our Public Works Director, Brian McLean, is here with the presentation.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, and City Council. Tonight, as the City Manager said, I'll be presenting a detention basin project, which as designed would significantly help reduce the impacts of flooding along Alamo Creek, particularly south of Interstate Route 80. And I'm seeking the City Council's consideration of funding requests for this project. First, a short background on the geography of Vacaville with regards to the natural creek channels running through the city. The western boundary of the city of Vacaville lies adjacent to the foothills of the Blue Ridge Range, as you can see in this graphic. Because of Vacaville's proximity to this range, substantial stormwater runoff flows down the watershed and enters those four creeks, which are Ulatis, Alamo, Encinosa, and Laguna Creek. Alamo Creek is the most extensive channel and has been historically the source of much of the flooding in the city. Shortly after the 2005 flood events, which many of us remember, the city installed a number of creek level monitors. And as you can see here in this graphic, over the last few years alone, the city experienced flood events in 2017, 2019, and multiple events in 2023. And these are some of the photos of the flooding that occurred in January of 23. In the spring of that year, early in 2023, the Public Works Department began a renewed effort to address flooding along Alamo Creek by first hiring a new hydrology firm and second by initiating a series of technical studies. From that hydrology work, a viable project emerged through the expansion of the city's existing Rancho Lagunitas detention basin. This basin expansion project would increase the stormwater detention by sevenfold from 36 to 256 acre-foot. On the left, you can see in the red circle, that's the Rancho Lagunitas detention basin. It's located at the end of Butcher Road on the north side of Lagoon Valley Park. Kind of looks like a kidney bean. On the right is a more zoomed in view. This graphic depicts the existing footprint of the Lagunitas Basin in red, and in yellow would be the proposed expansion footprint. And this is how the expanded basin will generally look and operate. Laguna Creek is located just above the basin to the north, and it converges with Alamo Creek on the east. The inlet will be constructed just downstream from the existing pedestrian bridge and the maintenance bridge. And it'll be located here. This will be at the highest location of the highest water flow elevation to be able to capture the most water coming from Laguna Creek. At 192 feet elevation, it begins to flow into the North Basin. At 188, it begins to flow into the South Storage area. And at 189 foot elevation, it begins to flow in the East area. This comes out to 256 acre-foot, which as designed, if we get through the construction with this proposed design, this would be the single largest detention basin in the city's inventory. Additionally, we would construct a pedestrian road and a walkway, which would be at the top of the detention basin itself. It would also tie into the trail system, which is on the south side of the hills of this project site. The benefits from this basin are expansive. The project is located on the largest influencing tributary to Alamo Creek, that is Laguna Creek. We already own the project site. We already have a detention basin there. The proposed project would utilize a containment berm type design, which is the same type of design that we used in the Pleasants Valley detention basin. And that series of basins was successfully completed in 2009. Additionally, this project, the site has already been culturally surveyed twice without identifying any concerning cultural findings within the project site boundary areas. Once in 1997 and once again in 2000 before the construction of the Rancho Lagunitas Detention Basin. It requires little impact to Laguna Creek itself, thereby reducing regulatory requirements and cost. It's designed to function across a wide range of storm magnitudes, and it utilizes existing site soils for construction, which is a major cost savings. We're going to use what's there to build this basin, and we won't have to haul off any soil spoils, which is an extremely cost savings measure. In terms of hydraulic modeling projections, compared to the total flooded acreage in the project, 762 acres would see a flood reduction in the 10-year event. That comes out to a complete elimination of flooding across 93 square acres. For the 100-year event, 1,339 acres would see a flood reduction with a complete elimination of flooding across 117 acres. And just for a sense of scale as to acreage, the graphics at the bottom provide some indication of what those acres look like. The City Hall complex that we're sitting on now is 10.5 acres. In the middle, Owl Patch Park, 39 acres, and Centennial Park, 265 acres. There's more. This project would completely remove flooding in the 100-year event for 483 residential homes, 6 apartment complexes, 2 senior apartment complexes, 2 mobile home parks, 2 schools, 5 commercial complex buildings, and 1 commercial complex entirely. Using FEMA's cost-benefit analysis tools, we also ran through the modeling with FEMA's benefit analysis project tools. It indicates that 933 structures would be removed from the floodplain entirely. 1,941 dwelling units would be protected, and 5,493 inhabitants would be positively impacted by this project. If we'd had this project completed, we would have experienced no flooding in 2017 and 2019 or in 2023. In terms of engineer's estimate, the project is valued at $8 million. We already have some funding set aside. $2 million in local detention basin DIF funding have been set aside. And after a year of work, the department was able to successfully convince the Department of Water Resources that we had a good project with this expansion. And in October, they awarded us. Second, the department identified $375,000 in closed general fund CIP projects, which had existing balances within those closed projects. Tonight, what I'm seeking is council's consideration for the allocation of that remaining $1.625 million in Measure M funding and the reallocation of $375,000 in previously closed CIP project funds toward the Rancho Lagunitas Detention Basin expansion project, which will complete our funding for the project and allow this much-needed flood control facility to begin process. The anticipated project schedule can be seen here. As you can see, we've already completed 2 of the major milestones. In the spring of this year, we completed the PDR, the preliminary design report for this project, and 35% construction plans. With council's approval of the funding, we would start in January to begin the environmental and permitting process. We would expect to bid in the fall of 2026, with construction starting in spring of 27 and completion by the fall of 27, so that this project would go into service by winter of 2027. For environmental and fiscal strategic goals, the environmental impact, there is no impact related to the execution of the DWR grant or council's decision to allocate local funding toward this project. It is CEQA exempt. Fiscal impact, $1.625 million in Measure M. There's no impact to the general fund reserve concerning the reallocation of $375,000 in those previously funded and closed CIP projects. And a strategic goal is goal number 1, ensure public safety. Finally, the resolutions and the recommendation authorize the city manager or director of public works to execute a $3 million flood control corridor protection grant agreement amendment number 1 with the Department of Water Resources for the Rancho Lagunitas Detention Basin Expansion Project, and 2, a resolution of the City Council approving a one-time budget augmentation to the 24-25 operating budget in the amount of $1.625 million in Measure M funding and the reallocation of $375,000 in General Fund Capital Improvement Program funds toward the Rancho Lagunitas Detention Basin Expansion Project. That concludes my presentation, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation, and leading up to this, all the support in providing information to the council just to understand what this is. Having voted on it through Solano County Water Agency, clearly even all of the members of that board recognize the importance of this, and so for all your diligence. Councilmember Chapman.
You really wanted to call on me first. Oh my gosh.
You hit the button first.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Everyone, you just don't understand how happy this is. Thank you, Brian, for all the hours, the amount of work that went into this project. For the 2 years I've been on the council, I think my very first council meeting, we flooded. I'm in the flood area. 100 homes were built in that development, and we have the other additional homes since. However, we have flooded. We weren't in a flood zone. However, we're required to have flood insurance today. That did not sit well with many who lost vehicles. I lost one. Homes were damaged. Many young people, their first homes, they lost everything. You don't understand how happy this is going to make the residents in Vacaville, everyone who has been impacted by these floods through the years. I can't thank you enough. Great report. I know the amount of time that Brian put into this. You're talking about, I mean, we have many outstanding employees. Brian, I can't thank you enough. I can't praise you enough, really. I mean, I use the word praise because I know the work that went into it. He would meet with me and give me updates. I'm thankful for the efforts you put into getting the funds to bring it to fruition. So with that, when it comes time to make the vote, to make the motion, please call on me.
And I still have to get to the public as well. So I will. Oh, Councilmember Silva.
Yeah, question first, and then I have a quick comment. I know, so I'll save that for you. But how can you just repeat how many homes will be removed from the flood zone, and approximately how much is flood insurance for each household?
So the modeling suggests 400, almost 500 homes completely removed from the 100-year flood event. It's 483 to be exact. And total dwelling units. So when you look at the apartment complexes, when you include those apartment complexes as well, and go through the process of looking at all the structures associated with those apartment complexes, plus the business complexes and the commercial businesses that would also be impacted, it comes up to 933 buildings. Flood insurance, the question on flood insurance, it can range to capitalist market. I've seen it, from $200 to up to $800. I will make a caveat here. The flood insurance program, as you know, is managed and governed by the federal government through FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Association or Administration, one of those. FEMA they won't look at this specific area in terms of the project benefits, because FEMA's look is much broader. They're going to look at the flood mapping revision across the entire city, and then also with the downstream effects to adjoining areas outside of Vacaville and the county, for example. They have a process that they go through. It's a lengthy process. It takes several years, and there's a lot of work that they go through, and there will be public notices at some point down the road. We have had some lengthy conversations with our hydrologist related to FEMA and the flood mapping in general. They have suggested to us that based on their extensive experience with FEMA in locations across this state as well as in across the United States, that we continue to work on this project and that we continue to pursue the other projects that we have along Alamo Creek. Because what we're trying to do is create a system of basins that provide a gaining effect, each one compounding on the next in terms of its overall protection to the entire channel. And so this isn't the end for us. You know, we're still working on the big one at Upper Alamo Creek detention basin site. But this is a step in the right direction. 256 acre foot of protection is 256 acre feet of stormwater that would otherwise be flowing downstream. And taking that acreage of stormwater offline and putting it into that detention basin is going to provide a world of benefit to the downstream residents and commercial businesses.
And I think, you know, so thank you for elaborating even more on there. And then I think at first I really got to thank Council Member Dr. Chapman and then you and your team's persistence in this and then me, you know, giving time to me to help me walk through and understand the different benefits to this. It's not just the potential damage that has occurred in the past, but just the bottom line of how each individual household or property owner will save on that property tax and how that in turn, you know, they can put that elsewhere, wherever that might be. So I think that in itself, you know, I'm really appreciative of that, on top of the efforts to go out and get additional money from the state. So the state would like to bash. So thank you.
Councilmember Wiley.
Thank you very much for exploring every avenue for funding and being successful with a quality project. So I really admire you for your work on this with your whole team. So my question is, it seems like now every 6 months, prices go up and up and up. So do you feel confident that this amount will take us through the end of 26 or when the project goes? And I do, you know, appreciate your information about being able to use the soils there to build the berm and not having to, you know, bring in or take out a lot of things. So I just wanted to see, is this built in like a 10%, you know?
How confident are we?
Yeah, right.
As confident as you can be with a CIP project. We do build in a contingency fund, of course, with our CIPs. I guess one of the biggest factors here is also during the process, we're at 35% right now. We actually are going to be working with the tribe very soon to be in dialogue with the tribe as to any other design components and input that they may have, because we want to take those into account as well. But we will also be doing through the process as the design continues to move from 35% up to the 65% level, we'll be going through a value engineering process. So we're looking at ways to be able to streamline the project even more, make it more cost effective along the way. That's one of the ways that we're trying to squeeze every dollar, make it count.
All right. And then you mentioned the pedestrian trail. Is there currently one, but just much smaller?
There is. It's a AB rock road that goes around the top of the existing detention basin. It's actually used quite extensively for recreational purposes. And so one of the benefits of this change is because we're simply going to, if you can envision the Rancho Lagunitas detention basin site, we're going to raise the walls. You'll be able to walk on an elevated, there'll be an ADA ramp, you'll be able to walk on an elevated maintenance road around the detention basin, and it will tie into that south side trail along the hillside very elegantly. I'll just say one last thing. One of the things that Department of Water Resources really liked about this particular project is it's not angular. It doesn't have a lot of right angles to it, which engineers love. This is different from, in terms of the actual design from the Pleasants Valley detention basins, which are very angular. This really fits into the environment. It wraps itself around the hillside to the south.
And then you gave the capacity like an acre foot. So as far as the pedestrian trail, is it like a half a mile or a mile or just?
I'll have to get back to you on that.
Okay, I just didn't know. Thanks.
And Councilmember Roberts.
Yeah, most of my questions are already asked, but there's something I've been talking to the city manager. I've also spoke with Brian about it, about the possible reallocation of ARPA funds that are designated for the Alamo Creek Park. So, that's about 1.2 million. Well, as much as I love that park, I'm there a couple days a week. Yes, life safety and property safety is obviously a higher priority than that. Well, I don't want to cancel the project, just maybe postpone it more until maybe the city's finances get in better shape. That way we're not dipping into Measure M funding, which is more flexible than ARPA. So I don't know if the timeline or what that process is. It's already been voted on by council for allocation, how that would work to reallocate those funds to this project, since this is technically infrastructure and public safety, which I know ARPA funding can be used for.
So thank you, Councilmember Roberts. While it's a generous proposal, we were hoping to complete those park improvements because we realized that there was this previously encumbered Measure M monies that could be accessible for this purpose. If there was an opportunity to discuss reallocating ARPA funds, we probably needed to address that at a couple of meetings ago when we were talking about finalizing the budget for ARPA. At this point, I would suggest that, you continue forward with the request, unless, of course, the council wants to reprioritize that. But I would suggest that at this point, to utilize the Measure M funding and go ahead and complete the project with the ARPA funding move forward with those park improvements as well, because the ARPA funding's already been essentially allocated and programmed.
Okay, I was waiting for the specific item to come up, but it obviously came up after the budgeting meeting. And then also more of the finance side. This is already out, like in your predictions analysis for finance for the city.
So our finance director is coming up to address that, but so depending on which forecast you look at, no. But Ken can tell you the impacts, and I believe it's actually pointed out in the report.
Yeah, that's correct. It's included in the staff report. And so as far as the impact, you can think of 1.5 million is 1% of our reserve. And so for the 1.6 million that's mentioned in Measure M, our reserve projection for the current fiscal year is that we're going from 24% to 23%. If you go out 5 years, our initial projection was like -5. It would go down to -6. So it changes it by 1%.
Okay.
And just to go back on the ARPA kind of comment, there aren't any ARPA funds in the park project, so that would be Measure M or general fund as well. So we get to the same place either way. ARPA wasn't used for that.
I thought ARPA was used for the park projects for Alamo, the basic ones that we approved like 3 years ago.
I believe that was Measure M, and so we don't have.
Those were all Measure M.
Oh, they're all Measure M? Yes. Okay. All right, thank you.
I'm going to open up to the public for any comment on this item. Seeing none, bring it back to the council. I would just, again, just final thoughts and thank you. This is the funding. I don't have a problem using Measure M for this. This is exactly a good use of Measure M. It is a reallocation when it was unencumbered. And all you have to do is listen to the presentation tonight, and the funding that came from the state, the funding that came from the Solon County Water Agency, and our commitment tonight is for a very good reason, which is exactly what your local government expects from this council. And I, for one, am wholeheartedly a yes on this. And knowing that this isn't the last one, there's more. So we have to be able to be prudent with our future spending, because there's going to be another one in the pipeline, and it's going to cost money as well. So, Councilmember Ritchie.
Thank you so much. So myself and Brian McLean, we had a conversation about this maybe a couple months ago. And one piece of this, I was trying to listen, make sure I wasn't did on repeating. This is a great project to really let the rest of the state emulate, because we need to start thinking differently, thinking smarter. And yes, it is a ground reservoir detention basin, but the state of California is really coming after us. There's 58 counties. We need to really make sure in our county we come together and look for innovative ways to make sure that we are economically feasible, we're being environmentally strong. This detention basin can also serve as groundwater recharge. We need to think differently. We need, throughout California, to make sure every county, every city takes accountability, so therefore they don't poach our water. The amount of water that's lost every huge storm is absolutely insane. We need to have these throughout every single city and county, so therefore they don't come after our water. The amount of water in 265 square acres that would be recharged into our groundwater to be picked up by our wells is amazing. So we haven't talked about that, but we really make sure that this state starts getting off their butt, making sure that other cities, other counties, groundwater recharge, so therefore they don't have to take our water. So that's one thing that wasn't mentioned, but it's really important. We had the conversation about capturing water and stop letting it just go down the river. Thank you.
Councilmember Stockton?
Yes. Outstanding PowerPoint. Like the graphics when they move, that was very neat. I think I am so grateful that you and your team are here in Vacaville helping us solve these problems. This was one of the top priorities when we had our priority session, and you have jumped in with both feet and you've just hit dingers every time as it relates to this issue. So I'm very grateful. If Dr. Chapman is ready to make a motion, I'm ready to second it.
I am ready to make the motion.
I'll second it.
All right. That was, I know you were looking for something bigger than that. I realize it. You made the motion and we have a second.
I wanted to read something here. I wanted to say, yes, we're going to approve.
Yeah, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, so,
Can I ask Brian a question?
well, we still got more.
I know, it's real quick. What are you going to do with your staff in 2027 when this is complete? They won't have any work to do.
Let them
No.
relax.
They actually have another detention basin to be working on, so that's what they'll be doing. All right, good question. All right, moving on. Item C.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the council. This next item before you is the approval of a disposition and development agreement for our affordable housing for military housing. We have Tamara Colden here Tamara Colden, Housing and Community Services Director, with the presentation.
Right, there we go. It was missing on the desktop. Good evening again, Mayor Carly, Vice Mayor, and council members. I'm back requesting council to adopt a resolution approving the disposition and development agreement with Victory Gardens Vacaville LP for the development of affordable housing with a military focus at 5763 Vanden Road. On June 27th, 2023, City Council adopted the 2023 through 2031 housing element. Program HE2D in that housing element included releasing a request for proposals for the site located at Vanden for the purpose of prioritizing housing for military members and veterans on the site. On November 28th, 2023, an RFP for the property was released to identify potential qualified developers. The city received one response from Mutual Housing California, or Mutual, to develop a mix of affordable rental and ownership units in collaboration with Solano Napa, Habitat for Humanity, and Insight Housing. Although only one response was received, the response was evaluated based on a variety of factors, such as financial capacity, experience, housing types, property and asset management experience, et cetera. And based on the merits of the proposal and positive references, on May 28th of this year, City Council approved entering into an exclusive negotiating rights agreement with Mutual for staff to negotiate terms of the disposition and development agreement for the property. Some additional information. On July 22nd of 2024, the Department of Housing and Urban Development released a notice of funding opportunity for a new COC Builds funding competition. The COC Builds NOFO supports the creation of new units of permanent supportive housing by providing capital funding for construction, acquisition, and rehabilitation or conversion of permanent supportive housing. The Community Action Partnership Solano Joint Powers Authority, or CAP Solano JPA, as the collaborative applicant for the Vallejo Solano COC, was eligible to compete for up to $5 million in this new source of funding. In September of 2024, CAP Solano held a local application process and actually selected Victory Gardens as the project it would like to move forward with in submitting a full application for the fund. So in November, that full application for Victory Gardens was submitted along with CAP Solano JPA. Mutual Housing California and Insight Housing have formed Victory Gardens Vacaville LP, or Victory Gardens, the entity that will develop, manage, and operate the multifamily housing portion of the project. Insight Housing will provide property management and supportive services for the residents. Here to speak more about the project are two representatives from Mutual Housing.
Started. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and members of the council. My name is Sahar Soltani. I'm the Director of Housing Finance at Mutual Housing California. We are the developers of the project before you tonight. Mutual Housing California is a nonprofit affordable housing developer based out of Sacramento. We've been around for more than 35 years and currently hold 1,500 units in the Sacramento region with 2,000 more units in our pipeline, including this exciting project. We are very grateful and excited for the opportunity to become a long-term partner of the Vacaville community. On this project, we are partnering, as Tamara mentioned, with Insight Housing, who will be the service provider and is a co-developer, as well as Habitat for Humanity of Solano, who've done tremendous work in this region. If we are able to secure your support tonight for the project, we will hit a major milestone in order to keep the project moving forward and on track with other funding applications. Can we go to next slide? Thank you. I wanted to just showcase a couple of our projects, which were the inspiration behind how we've structured the Victory Gardens project. This is Cornerstone. This is in a residential neighborhood in South Sacramento, prominently single-family residential neighborhood. This was the first of its kind in Northern California, where we partnered with Habitat for Humanity of Greater Sacramento in order to deliver single-family homes as well as multifamily rental units. There are no fences or delineations between the two properties, which creates a seamless transition and integration into the surrounding neighborhood and the existing community there. And next one, please. And this project, I wanted to highlight, this is Lavender Courtyard. It's a higher density infill project in downtown Sacramento. This was hugely successful and received a lot of attention and praise at state and local level. This is a senior project, however, it does have a LGBTQ focus. So we are going to apply the same structure in how we are addressing this project to the active military population. Because, part of fair housing law, there are restrictions on what units can be restricted to what populations, but through affirmative marketing and advertising strategies, we were able to really reach out to the community that we were intending to serve. So we will apply the same thing here in our outreach to the active military community. With that, I'm going to pass it to the project manager, Revati Rajwad, to just talk about the specifics of the project. Thank you.
Before I dive into the specifics of this project, I would like to thank the entire city staff, council members, and mayor for giving us the opportunity. So a bit about this development. We would be having 206 multifamily units and 14 single-family homes on this 8.4-acre property. We plan to have a holistic community with a community farm, landscaped gardens, play areas for children, and several amenities and supportive services for the population. As we planned the design scheme, we bore in mind that this development would be a part of an existing neighborhood, and our design responds to those strategies. We plan to activate Vanden Road through the community farm that we have planned along Vanden Road. And our single family homes have been proposed along the northern and the southern portions so that they transition into the single family home neighborhood that surrounds it. This is just a quick summary of the project with all the net zero energy features that we have, solar panels which would have the carports. This is the affirmative marketing plan that Sahar spoke about earlier. We plan to strategize and use all of these strategies like partnering with local organizations, reaching out to military bases, and developing marketing brochures with pictures of military and veteran families to make sure that we are complying with fair housing laws, but also have a strong military focus. I'd just like to quickly provide an overview of the affordable housing rents that this project would bring. So for a market rate development, a project, a two-bedroom apartment would usually have a rent of about $2,750, $1,000, whereas now with this project, we would be able to provide a two-bedroom apartment for just $849 for a family earning 30% of the AMI. A quick dive into the project schedule, where the next year is mainly planned at securing entitlements, approval, project financing, and then diving right into construction in 2026 and 2027, with the project actually being completed and leased up in 2028. Yeah, these are some views of the project. This is the community farm along Vanden Road. These are some interior parts of the project that we can see, and yeah.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. Any questions initially? I'm gonna go ahead and open it up. Do you have a question, Councilmember Well?
Wait, sorry, not done. Switching
Oh,
back
you're
to
not done. Okay.
apologies. So staff has completed negotiations with Victory Gardens Vacaville. Some of the key terms that are included in the DDA include that the property will be purchased for $1. It does include the affordability requirements for the 206 multifamily units, as well as the affordability requirements for the 14 single-family units. It does include the project-based vouchers that will be awarded to the project from the Vacaville Housing Authority, as well as the affirmative military marketing plan that was discussed. Some alternatives are the city could choose not to approve the resolution to enter into the disposition and development agreement. However, that is not recommended as the proposed project supports the goals identified in the housing element of the general plan, as well as the city's housing goals. So staff's recommendation tonight, by simple motion, adopt the resolution approving the disposition and development agreement and authorize the Housing and Community Services Director to finalize and execute the agreement. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Councilmember Wiley?
Yes. So in the map that we just saw and for the presentation, there were like single-family homes on the north and the south. So is that the Habitat for Humanity homes? And is that for sale through that project?
That's correct. Those will be developed by Habitat for Humanity, and those will be for sale.
And then just in the last little bit, you were talking about, I think, 52 housing vouchers. And at recent meetings, we've talked about a possibility with a hotel in town and using housing vouchers for that. So if we have housing vouchers for this, does that mean we'll have less for that? Or is there enough housing vouchers for both projects? Should they both go through? Or
there are enough housing vouchers for both projects should they both move forward.
All right. Thank you.
Councilmember Roberts?
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited to see this project finally moving forward. As you guys know, I'm a military member here on council. I work with the base. A lot of my friends are military. And I know a lot of people, especially at Travis, that struggle with housing, especially out here, because they're allocated a certain amount each month for their housing. And sometimes that can be difficult for a family. I know people that live in American Canyon, Sacramento, Woodland, even further up. I know some people that even live up in Dunnigan that commute to Travis just because it's where they can afford to buy or rent. And so, especially with the different levels of allocations, like those young families where you have like a airman or private military, they're maybe making like $1,700-1,800 a month, plus their little bit housing allowance. So they don't have a lot to afford, especially here in Fairfield and Vacaville, because our prices are quite high compared to neighboring cities. And so seeing a project like this actually coming to fruition is nice, especially because Travis Air Force Base, they don't have the ability to build more housing on base itself. So as more people get stationed there, especially with the restructuring of how the base is going to be functioning, they may need more housing, and this should help address that issue. So appreciate your guys' work into this project.
I'm going to open up to the public for any comment on this item. Good evening.
Hi, Thomas Randall. Thank you for this project. One of the things about the military is housing and being able to keep the base here from our close neighbors is really important. So I'm shocked that this came about, but I like that Vacaville's taking a first step. You know, have a lot of people around here that need housing in the military. Their pay is going up a little bit, so that's going to help them a little bit. All I wanted to say is thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, City Council. First of all, as a United States Marine vet myself, I echo your sentiments, Councilman Roberts, about the difficulties with housing. I was in San Diego, and I can tell you it was no picnic. That being said, I can't recall the city of San Diego ever subsidizing my housing in any way. Always found a way to make it work as a sergeant, and I can tell you the DH for E5 here at Travis Air Force Base with dependents is $3,342 a month. and without dependents is $2,535 a month. Again, I'm a big fan of the military. I think they're underpaid. I think undercompensated. However, there's a lot of people in Vacaville that are able to find housing on less than that. And I, as a taxpayer, I don't think we need to be subsidizing the military locally. I think we do plenty of that federally. I think if we want to help our military members out and show them appreciation personally, we should be able to do that, but I don't think our local government should be demanding it of us. So yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor.
Good evening. I can't believe this project is finally coming forward. We had 8 acres, 8.4 acres to be exact, donated to us on Vanden Road for military housing. And we've given it as a gift, basically, because we didn't pay for it. It was a part of a deal that built other housing out in that area. And so it's exactly what the project was meant for, military housing. And so I applaud the folks that came forward here, even though they're the only ones. This is the goal for providing military housing for people outside the base. And so please pass it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I certainly appreciate my comments by my friends here, and I certainly agree with them. But I guess my question is, and I know we can't answer it directly, but as a child of a single mother, saw her paid horribly. She had a master's degree, and she very competent. If the federal government hadn't stepped in and I guess brought the full force of the law and brought her pay up to the other executives, we would still be living in poverty to my 18th birthday. But we lived in horrible poverty. And I know what it's like to go days with no food. Now, I wish my mom would have been a little more proactive, but she was a very proud woman who wouldn't go to the food bank. Our medical care was highly deficient. I guess my question is, with such a large number of single moms in our community, and I deal with them and I talk with them, they're struggling, they're hurting. Why are they not being addressed? I mean, I understand the military part, but why wouldn't single moms be right next behind that? I don't understand this. And it hurts my heart that we have this huge problem in Vacaville right now. I'd love to sit down and talk to you about that. And I feel it personally because I've been there as a kid, and I've been through the suffering and the pain. So I would like for the council to reconsider adding this serious demographic along with our great military friends, because I think we've got a serious issue here, and I think it needs to be addressed. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. I'm encouraged by this. I'm not in that situation, but I would once again ask the council, when we do a project, can we treat everybody fairly and equally? We don't have to single out this group or that. I'm not saying not the military people, because that's a very special need. But I don't understand why, if we're addressing military housing, why it's focused on LGBTQI. Didn't I hear that? Correct me?
Yeah, hold on.
But anyway,
you just raised the question and we'll address it.
Yeah, did I hear that wrong? Which is very possible. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and close public comment and bring it back. And I'm sure there's a few questions you can answer, and I will just say, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that what the applicant was suggesting is how they approached a process. The goal for Vacaville was a focus on those based upon the affordability, but there is a preference for veterans, just like we have had a preference for veterans on Rocky Hill. We have other projects in the pipeline, but the ability for us to help all people doesn't negate their ability to apply and to be able to receive vouchers based upon available vouchers. So it doesn't exclude them from being able to utilize these services, which is very common with some of our other projects. It just means that some projects will apply certain preferences, like sometimes you want to know if there's a local preference and how that works. But Tamara, maybe you can explain a little bit more. It may be that it'd be helpful to understand because our former mayor understood something. There was an arrangement based upon that land. So it's not the $1 is there was a focus as to why that land was to be used the way it was. It wasn't something that was owned by the city. It was something that was part of a process.
Thank you. I think there's 2 points of clarification that I can offer, and then if I missed anything else, please let me know. But I believe the applicant was just using the example of their LGBT plus community focus and using that same strategy here with our military focus. So not that that would be the focus here, but just the strategy for this project. And then as was mentioned before, this land was donated to the city for the purpose of providing military-focused housing. And so that's what was described in the RFP when we sought qualified developers, and that's why this project is focusing on providing housing for military families, because that is what the land was donated to the city for.
Thank you. Councilmember Wiley.
I would just like to say, when we talk about military is women and men. Because I was at an event Saturday and Sunday on base, and there were a lot of women who are serving, and some of them, I'm sure, are single women. So single women who are in the military would be welcome to come and apply to do this as well. And I do feel like our council works hard to find ways to help all people in need. We're not singling out single groups of people to help.
Councilmember Chapman.
Thank you. I was going to make mention of the single women that serve in the military as well. In addition, if all the units are not utilized, taken up by the military, will they be made available to civilians within the community?
Yes, that is correct. So the project and the affirmative marketing plan will focus on military, active, and veterans. But the project would be open for all applicants.
Okay, and then during the applicant's presentation, she made mention of seniors. I think
Apologize that the confusion that sample project caused. That was also the project that I was just showing as a showcase, which was a senior LGBTQ focus, not on this project. This is a family project.
And all right, and I think I'm back to staff now. Well, really, just a comment now. The council, I don't think a meeting goes by where we don't speak of affordable housing. Anytime a development is brought before us, we always inquire as to the type of units and if a development had initially been proposed to have affordable housing and it's not mentioned, we inquire, we ask about it. So we're not, this unit, which is being discussed right now, is not precluding us from seeking affordable housing throughout Vacaville, because there is a need. There is a need. And inclusionary housing, that's a big topic with us as well. So.
Councilmember Roberts.
Yeah, you guys are going to be focusing on primarily like active families, but does also include like National Guard and Reserve. I know veterans. So I assume you guys will also be working with the Veteran Service Office in Fairfield that works at the county office to see who's in need of housing there as well.
That's correct. That is included as a strategy in the affirmative marketing plan.
Okay, and specifically for the Reserve and National Guard members, do you already have a plan of who you're going to reach out with? Because they're like all over the place. There's Joint Force Headquarters in Sacramento, but the reserves are a little bit more distributed in terms of command wise. I just want to make sure everybody's, because I know quite a few, like my Army National Guard members are here in Vacaville, but they're working in like Pittsburgh or Sacramento or even down in Southern California sometimes. So a lot of times they get overlooked. And they're the ones that may need some additional help because they're only in the military one weekend a month usually, and might just have some part-time job someplace else.
We are definitely open to all contacts, referrals as part of the strategy. So I definitely welcome sending any information that you have over.
All right, awesome, thank you.
Vice Mayor Ritchie.
I'll try to be quick because there's a crowd of people that are waiting for something very, very important and celebratory. Actually, some of this is going to be my council comments, but it segues perfectly into this. As Mayor Lynn Augustine is the chair for TCC, this is something I was going to talk about council comments. It's going to be a recap of what I've done sitting on the board, but this is really important. I don't want to get into the point of subsidizing. The government does enough. $3.2 billion come in this community from Travis. We need to get back. But what's more important is, I think I read about 103 units out of the 250 are retargeted, hopefully, for veterans, correct?
So with the 103 units that were initially planned for veterans housing program, and please feel free to come up if I'm misstating this, but the applicant actually needs to pivot on applying for that particular funding as they're submitting applications right around the beginning of February for Cal HFA multifamily inclusion. I'm butchering it, so I'll let the applicant explain.
Thank you. Yes, so that is correct. The funding source that we were hoping to pursue, the Veterans Housing and Homelessness Prevention Program that is administered through HCD at state level, unfortunately did not get replenished by funding this round. With the state budget cuts, that program actually got cut off. So there is no more funding available in that pot. So we are pivoting the project in order to be competitive for this other funding availability through Cal HFA. It's their mixed income program, and that does not have, the income requirements are different than the program that we originally were intending to apply for. But the 52 units with the vouchers, those are going to be veterans units.
52. And that kind of just quickly segues to I've had a very spirited conversation last TCC meeting about what we need to do. I don't know if the community of Vacaville is aware of how important Travis is to this community. They're literally breaking the base into half. Half the base is going to be the business usual, cargo, and the other half is going to attack. The U.S. government has acknowledged that they're splitting their mission. They have a focus. China is coming for our lunch, and we have to really, really expedite, make sure that we split Travis in half to have an attack mission. That's going to bring more people. As everyone's hit on this, 78% of everyone who works behind those walls do not have the availability to live there. They're in our community. I lived in Vacaville long enough to know that I've seen the change. I want to have this community understand that in the 80s, in the 70s and 90s, Vacaville looked very different. There were more airmen and women that lived in our community because of affordability and homes. People are commuting now to Lodi. We have airmen and women. So I spoke to the commander, and he actually gave his own personal testament. He was one of those people. Him and his wife came, so they were stationed here. They can only afford to live in Woodland. The Pentagon, just today, go to military.com, the Department of Accountability Office had a scathing article that put every single base in the country on notice. There is airmen and women, military, Navy, that are living in RVs, living in their cars, working second jobs because they cannot afford to live close to the bases. It's become a national security problem. If we have to mobilize and make sure Travis protects us, and we have 78% of our population is supposed to serve and protect our country that can't get to their base within an hour and a half, we're done. The Pentagon is extremely cognizant aware of this. 52 units is not enough. We need thousands. We need to really emphasize making sure there's a close proximity to have our airmen and women close to that base. SWAT teams, you can ask the SWAT here, there's a requirement that they have to be within a certain amount of distance to be able to get on duty in an event something happens. The Pentagon has the same thing. They've been really negligent. So this is a win, this is a victory lap, but 50 units is not enough. We need to work really hard to make sure we bring a lot of housing to bring veterans and active duty in close proximity to the base in Vacaville in our community. So I'm absolutely going to try to do a motion to approve this, but this is just a little piece of what we need to do.
Councilmember Stockton?
Yes. Just want to extend my gratitude to the family that donated this property and set aside this section for us to build veteran housing for the brave women and men that serve our country. And if you're prepared to make a motion, I'm prepared to second it.
I'd like to make a motion again.
Hold on, did you have something else you wanted to say?
I just want to ask Greg.
He's going to ask for the motion.
Yeah, I was going to ask for a last item that I'm going to be voting on really for city council, if I can make the motions.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Fair enough.
All right, go ahead, Councilmember Roberts.
Yeah, I'd like to make the motion to approve this item as presented.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Well, it's going to take a few years, but again, this is one of many projects, but it is important to understand that the land was donated for this reason, and our former mayor is very well aware of it, and clearly sitting on the TCC, many of us are informed on some of these issues, so thanks for raising those, Vice Mayor. All right, we're going to move on to our last business item tonight, item D.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the council. This final item that you've all been waiting for is the certification of the municipal election results for this November 5th, 2024. Our city clerk, Michelle Thornbrew, has a brief presentation.
Mr. City Manager, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council, as you know, the city consolidated its general municipal election held on November 5th with the Solano County Registrar of Voters to elect officers to the offices of city treasurer, city clerk, and district representatives to districts 1, 3, and 5. This resolution before you accepts the results of the canvass of the election as reported by the Registrar of Voters. And the recommendation is for you to approve the resolution before you and to move forward with congratulating and thanking Councilmember Roberts for his service and time over the last 4 years, and to provide the oath of office to those who are stepping in.
All right, and I assume I still have to open this up to the public, so, all right. There's no questions here, so I'm going to open up to the public. Any comment on the certification of this election? And I will bring it back to the council, and do I have a motion? We have the motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Well, I appreciate that we've now certified it. There's a few things that we do need to do, but before we do that, I'd like to just offer a moment for Councilmember Roberts to share a few words. And before you do, I just wanted, on behalf of the city of Vacaville, just extend an appreciation for your service to the city and to the council from 2020 through 2024, and appreciation for your dedicated service to the citizens of our community. So congratulations.
Yeah, thanks, John. Yeah, it's been a very interesting 4 years. Started campaigning during a wildfire and a pandemic to Zoom calls that lasted till 2 a.m. and then going on to protests and multiple other things. But yeah, I've learned a lot over the last few years, more than I could say I've learned in my master's degree that I've been working on for public administration stuff. I've actually seen it behind the scenes is very, very different. Yeah, we got a lot of good stuff done. Affordable housing, senior housing, improved a lot of the parks, infrastructure, and a lot of that's thanks to ARPA funding. But I think this council did a good job with allocating those funds to appropriate sections within the city to improve the city as a whole. Yeah, I'm just looking forward to Ted taking over. Hoping that you ran a very successful business, so I hope you bring your business acumen to the county or to the city, as well as the county, depending on what board you sit on, and use that knowledge and be very objective, especially with financial issues that may arise. I mean, I don't envy you guys at all about the budget the next few years because it's going to be very tight and probably make a lot of decisions that are going to be very difficult. And so I'll still be here to support how anybody needs and probably be on the other side of the podium from time to time to give my comments on certain items. With that, since I won't be on council, make my comments, then just a few things I was thinking of. There are going to be a lot of big items. One's mentioned inclusionary zoning. I'd stand your ground on that one because you already know the developer's going to come back and say, hey, it's not going to pencil out if we do this, but we all know that they can always make adjustments. So I say stand to the inclusionary zoning because that's really the only way affordable housing is going to come to the city. And then, yeah, we just saw the retirement, or Chief Schmutzler is going to be retiring here in a couple weeks. I highly recommend you keep that in-house because Vacaville PD is doing a great job keeping it in-house. Would be awesome. If Captain Poland so desires to apply, I think he'd be a great next chief. And yeah, that's it. Pretty much it. Just a couple rules I bring over Team Rubicon. I'll make them more Dias friendly because it's written by a Marine, so it's not really the most publicly friendly statement. But rule number 1 is don't be a jerk. Rule number 2 is get things done. And rule number 3 is don't mess it up. So if you keep those 3 rules in mind, I think the council will continue to do a great job for the city. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, there's a few ways we're going to do this, but I think we need to start by making sure that we have our city clerk sworn in so that she can continue the next act in this, because then she will be swearing in others on the council. So our deputy city clerk, Sheila Ernst, can you come forward? And we are going to swear in our incumbents who were successful in their campaign, which was Michelle Thornbrew as our city clerk. And Jay Yerkes is also in his role as the treasurer, is successful in his election, so he will be sworn in as well.
Good evening. I will be administering the oath of office to you both. Please raise your right hands. State your name.
I, Michelle Thornbrew,
I, Jay Yerkes,
Do solemnly swear
solemnly swear
to support and defend
to support and defend
the Constitution of the State of California
the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the United States
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
and I will bear true faith and allegiance
and I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion.
and that I will well and faithfully
I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
upon which I'm about to enter.
Congratulations.
Well, we have 2 returning council members and 1 new council member that need to be sworn in at this time. So, Councilmember Ted Freemel, elect, why don't you come forward?
Okay, my turn to give it to you.
Yes.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Ted Freemel,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to support and defend
to support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic.
foreign and domestic,
And I will bear true faith
and I will bear true faith
and allegiance
and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California.
and the Constitution of the State of California,
That I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservations
or purpose of evasion.
or purpose of evasion,
And I will well and faithfully
and I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I'm about to enter.
upon which I'm about to enter.
Take your seat.
Thank you. Jason.
And we also have to, through the certification, we have Roy Stockton and Mike Silva, who are also reelected in their campaigns. Yes, together, yes.
One more year. One more.
Okay, please state your name.
Roy Stockton.
Michael Edward Silva.
I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
to support and defend
to support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic.
foreign and domestic.
And I will bear true faith and allegiance
And I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California.
and the Constitution of the State of California.
That I take this obligation freely
That I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion.
or purpose of evasion.
And I will well and faithfully
And I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I'm about to enter.
upon which I'm about to enter.
Oh, Jim. Congratulations.
Well, to the residents of the city of Vacaville, he's got the residents of the city of Vacaville, this is your new city council. So congratulations to your election and to the reelection. And for all that it means as we continue to serve the city of Vacaville. We're going to try and keep and abbreviate the next couple of items so that we can get to what we really want to do is celebrate this occasion for the reelection, but also, Ted, I know that there's going to be some cake and punch and whatever food that there might be around here, as I'm told. And so with that, Mr. City Manager, do we have any reports?
None for me this evening, thank you.
All right. And then reports of the city council. So let's do our best to quick as we possibly can tonight. Councilmember Stockton.
Yes, I wanted to take an opportunity to thank former council member Roberts for all of his help on council, but especially with the JPA on homelessness. He was a huge advocate and help and assistance for the city in trying to get really important funding to help in that measure. And I'm grateful for your support and your help. To the citizens of Vacaville, it is an absolute honor to be here to represent not only District 1, but the city in its entirety. And I'm honored to be amongst all of you as colleagues and look forward to working to try to take care of our city and do what we have to do to make sure that our citizens have and enjoy the quality of life that they deserve. So I'd like to thank all of you. I'd like to thank the city staff and everybody that came out here tonight to be here for today. Thank you.
Councilmember Silva.
Yeah, thank you. I got a message a few months ago from a lady that had reached out and said, just to summarize, she stated that 4 years ago I couldn't vote, but I told my children to vote for you. I don't know if they did, but 4 years down the road, she earned her citizenship. It took several years to get to that point, and she had committed to voting for me because she appreciated that there was somebody that was out there engaged and doing what they could to help improve the community, not just for themselves, but for others. And so on top of that, I would get different messages, just different comments from different youth, particularly throughout the area. Just asking different questions about how to improve their communities and whatnot. And a couple months ago, I was a little stressed out, believe it or not, and just kind of getting on my older son just about stuff that honestly probably looking back really didn't matter. And my mom passed away a little over a year ago, and just seeing that whole process of Alzheimer's specifically, and how it just just seeing how it just took everything away from her. Somebody worked hard to make sure that she, not just her American dream wasn't ever about herself. Her American dream was to make sure that her kids had something better, that they would do better. And I think at the time, just seeing that whole process, I realized my whole life I lived with this chip on my shoulder. And I don't know why exactly. There's different things that make me remind myself of why. And I've used to been told to not live like that. And just kind of seeing that process and a lot of things that I've seen throughout the years. My mom going through that next transition, that next journey, I kind of accepted that chip on my shoulder. But the trick is to make sure that energy, that passion isn't driven towards tearing other people down, isn't driven towards looking at how do I hold myself up, or how do I hold other people up to hold other people down. It's really been focused on, again, how do we help each other up? And, I told my son, and I commit to you all in our community, that one, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for being on him how I was. But number two, that I have to be better. And I have to be better because I need him to be better. And we are all challenged with figuring out how to do and be the best we can, to set examples for people who are looking at us before, and we don't even know that they're looking up to us or looking at us for guidance and direction. I think there's a lot of challenges beyond just what is presented to us on paper. There's a lot of things that go on and behind closed doors throughout our city. They've been there for quite a while, and I know that people they really are looking for hope. Some can call it faith, some can call it hope, but they're looking for something better. And the challenge that we all have is, how do we pull our leadership skills together to unite our community? How do we pull our resources together to unite our community, to make sure that it's not that the decisions we make and the programs that we support isn't just for some, but how do we find ways to benefit all? How do we all grow together? I think the core of that is through economic development, with the ability to develop pride in the work that we do and the people that we make. That's how I've constantly witnessed and experienced how we bridge unity amongst divide. I enjoy going out to learning and listening from different folks. So if there's ever anything that you want me to consider and look from a different perspective, I guarantee you I sleep very little, and it keeps those thoughts and those messages I constantly refer back to. All of that shapes me and challenges me to be better because I need our future kids to be better. And they deserve it. And they deserve it because that was the American dream of our ancestors. That's what they sacrificed for so much for. That's what they worked hard for, and it's up to us to honor that the best way that we can. So, I can talk more about the economic development part, but I really want to give my appreciation to two individuals, actually three, sorry. I got to talk about my family first. So just my wife, I really appreciate you sticking with me through all of this. Sometimes you probably like me leaving home, but my family I cherish the most, particularly my kids. So I really appreciate their continued support. I know all of our families take an impact of us being on here, and hear a lot of different conversations, a lot of different struggles, and a lot of different public input that just kind of gets a little out of hand at times. But that's another story. So the two folks I do absolutely want to mention, Jason Roberts, man, it's been an honor to get to know you. You're still active military member serving our nation. That doesn't go unnoticed. Times working out late in the gym, talking, stuff, and then I'm like, okay, I'm done working out. It's 11 o'clock at night, ready to go home. Then we talk like another hour in the parking lot. I'm like, man, right? So, but I know those conversations are going to continue. It really has been an honor to get to know you, and the different aspects that you bring to our community, and I really appreciate that. Ted, man, you and I and your family, I love your family. We've gone back since our kids have been in kindergarten. Your passion and love for anybody you come around is extremely infectious and inspirational to all of us. And I know you're going to lead with great integrity and passion in everything that you do. And I'm really excited to see you on here and being serving with you, man. Thank you, Mark. Thank you.
And with that, I'm gonna ask Councilmember Freemel if you'd like to share. I already got you.
Yes. First of all, I know my father-in-law's feet hurt him when he's standing so long, so why don't you come sit with your daughter down here, please, and take a load off of those feet. So I know he struggles with it, so come on down. And I just want to say, I look out amongst this group of people out here, and I am a wealthy man when it comes to a vast treasure chest full of good people and good friends in my life. I've always judged people on 4 categories, with my life, my wife, my money, and my kids. And I've got some friends I'd never let them alone with my wife. Others, I would never let my kids get in the car with them. And others, and there's a whole room full of people that I would trust in all 4 categories here. I just have a plethora of friends, from bikers to bankers and police chiefs and sheriffs to the bottom of the totem pole, people that are still struggling, with drug and alcohol addiction after 50 years. And I'm thinking, didn't you get the memo back in the teens? Didn't you get the memo? But I'm just rich in friends. I see people here that have been involved in my kids' lives, and have blessed me in so many ways, just with a community that I can trust, and that I can lend a hand to. And so I'll just finish up real quick because I know that this is late, but I promise you guys this: I will do my best to do my best here. I don't want to overlook anybody, and I don't want to underlook anybody. My plans are to serve this community with the best of my ability. I've got to get my wheels underneath me. I've never been involved in government before. I don't speak government. I've never held a government job, but I'm excited about this. And I just appreciate everybody that works so hard. I see just my friends across this room, and I'm just grateful for all of you guys. And to my lovely wife, Nancy, that I just, she has been the support and the backbone. And, we've been married for 31 years now. We've got a couple of teenagers, 15 and 17 years old. As Mike said, both of them speak Spanish fluently. And that's a result of our kids going to school with Mike's kids. We celebrated Halloweens and birthdays and get-togethers and that sort of thing. So I'm hoping that I can be an add-on to the city council.
And Councilmember Chapman.
Thank you. A few things, however, I'm going to begin with Jason. Um, It's been great getting to know you over the past 2 years. Your contributions to our discussions and our decisions were appreciated. Yes, very much so. I have to say that my 2 years on the council have been quite rewarding. I personally feel that we worked exceptionally well as a council. We had a couple of issues, and we aren't supposed to always agree on everything. But I think overall, we listened to one another, and we expressed our positions, our concerns, and I feel we showed the respect that was needed to one another, and that is very important. Jason, you'll be missed, and you can continue to send me information to enhance my knowledge base in areas that I'm a little light. I appreciate you. Okay, and Ted, welcome to the council.
Thank you.
Yes. Our first introduction was at a ribbon cutting.
Yes.
Where you introduced yourself, and I've heard great things about you. Some of your friends out here in the, don't be smiling up here, are friends of mine as well. Used to be anyway. And to Roy and Michael, welcome back. Welcome back, and I look forward to the next 2 years together, if not more. Oh, I'm not finished. I'm sorry. I said I had a few things. Can I go off script now and make mention of Merriment on Main Street? You want to do that? Oh, shoot. Okay, how about the Golden West Band?
Go for it.
I can go for that. I attended their concert. Oh my gosh, it wasn't the first time hearing them, but they were from 6 to 9. And I mean, everybody, there was an intermission, but you didn't want to break. You just wanted to sit there, and you just wanted them to continue on and on and on. The band they're marvelous, marvelous. And they had one of their singers this time that she's even a tap dancer. And it was just a beautiful, beautiful evening. So if you didn't get to attend this year, they come each year. So they'll be back in 25, and they're worth taking the time to see. And lastly, I have to say, Brian, thank you. You've made my holiday. You have made my year. Thank you again for all the work you've done on the flood zone issue.
Vice Mayor Ritchie.
I'll be fast. It's been a year. It's just, thank you for Jason for your service to our country, and then right here from the dais to our community. It's amazing. So I just appreciate everything you've done. Everyone's speech, yours is very long, but I was trying to try. I listened intently and passionately to what everyone said and what Ted spoke. Our job here, it's like bricks. Every day we come here in this community, and my goal and passion is to make sure that we make it better every day than was the day before. Like, our job is to step out in this public and make sure that we leave this city and this community in a better place than we found it every day. I felt that way the last council, and I know with Ted being a part of this council, that's just going to be accelerated. I had a chance opportunity to meet Ted, not because of politics or business. We're both not government workers until now. Me and Ted met in 2023, 5 guys in a room doing Bible study. I had no idea who he was until months later. He was just a guy just opened his heart up. We're talking. So I know his character, I know his passion, I know his ability to have the right heart and the heart to serve. He's going to do great. We have a lot of challenges in the city to make sure that economically we allow the level of service that you guys deserve. And I feel this council is going to have the ability to bring that forward. So day by day, we're going to be here to fight for you guys. And I'm very optimistic. Thank you.
And Councilmember Wiley.
Just a few things to say. I won't mention Merriman on Main because you've got that covered, but it was a great event. That's great. And just the year 2024 has gone by very quickly. As you know, we won't have a meeting in 2 weeks, so we hope you all have a happy holiday for that. And there are cold days ahead, so even if the warming center doesn't kick in, there are people out there that are cold and can use support and help. So hopefully you feel inclined to make that happen for people who need a hand up and on cold nights. And I also want to say tonight was just an example of all the great things that are going on in our city with the Public Works Department, the Police Department, the Finance and Housing, and we have so many great things that have happened in 2024. And I think that will continue going forward with the changes that we see. I want to say thank you to Councilmember Roberts. It was an honor to serve with you, and also to Chief Smutzler. But 2025 will have some changes, and sitting right next to me is one of them. And I do want to say that at the base on Saturday or Sunday, I attended an event with the 349th Airman Mobility Reservists, and Commander Patrick Brady Lee, is he Commander? Commander Patrick Brady Lee sat down with a group of us at the table with reservists from out of state, and he just said, remember, everything you've done in your life has placed you at where you are right now for a reason. And so just do your best for all the people around us, and whoever a police chief is or whoever, you're placed in a place for a reason. Do the best for the people around you and believe in yourself and others. And, you said you didn't have your wheels underneath you yet, but really, the most senior on the council have only been on for 4 years, and that was Councilmember Stockton and Councilmember Silva and myself, who were, the ones that were elected in 2024, which isn't much of a history for our council. So we still all need to, work together and find the best way forward for all of Vacaville, and even working with the state sometime. Thanks.
Yeah, I too want to just welcome Councilmember Freemel, who I affectionately know as Ted, and getting to know Ted and Nancy and your families. You truly are, you represent the city of Vacaville, and you do it well. But there's so many people who have never been into politics, and you may say, I'm not a politician. Well, you are now, and your words matter. And you have impact, and that's the reason why so many people do want to serve and to do what is good. So welcome to this council. Just a couple items of business that I think are important. And one is the city of Vacaville has been working with Urban Land Institute over the course of this last year, looking at our downtown. So thank you to Erin Morris and her team, and Pimon did a webinar on Friday to really see what's happening downtown and where some of the areas that were stuck. And so that will be, at least on our website, a report will be coming out soon. We had a preliminary report that was presented publicly in August, looking at what we're doing with our downtown and how we can make that active. Secondly, the water rights of the city of Vacaville and the cities within the county are under scrutiny. We've heard a lot of different issues. One is that we've been working through our 25-year rights through the Bureau of Reclamation at the federal level. So it has to go through a certification process, just to make it very simple. It was being held up, which nobody wants to hold up your rights for 25 years, but it has been settled in Superior Court. And so those are the rights for the licenses where the water is dispersed through Solano County Water Agency in agreements between the city and the agency. And I sit on that board as a voting member representing this city and this council as part of one of my responsibilities. Separate from that is this Thursday, there is testimony that's going to be occurring in Sacramento to the water board that represents the state of California's interests, unelected but appointed by the governor. That's the one that is now the real concern, because they're the ones that are trying to implement these changes that you've heard in front of this council, not only from Solano County Water Agency, but the presentation that our staff brought to us. And so we need to pay attention to that. That testimony is occurring because that is the risk. They won't make a decision on Thursday, but that is where there's going to be public comment and testimony that is represented from SQUA that represents the city of Vacaville. So just know that. And then lastly, not because I was trying to hold on to the thunder, but we all have to celebrate this moment together because Merchant in Maine was a huge success, and nearly 18,000 people who attended. People came from all over. It is one of those experiences that just makes Vacaville unique. And you try to tell people, if you've never been, you don't know what you're missing, because we just have the character and charm. And I just want to personally thank, and I know, City Manager, you personally thanked everyone through an email to city staff and listing people. But it was, not only is it a lot of work, but it's fun for the staff to participate in something that brings so much joy to a community. So from behalf of the entire council to our city staff and all the volunteers and all the community members that participated in to make it happen, you all deserve the credit for making it a huge success. We're just wanting to make sure that we're publicly praising you, because it really was. And so with that, I'd like to show a short video that kind of recaps this year's Merriman on Main.
Good evening, Vacaville. I am Joanna Leal, your Public Information Officer, and I am excited to be here at 2024 Merriman on Main. Why don't you step in and see what's happening?
This is Vacaville. Anyone who knows what it's like to celebrate downtown Vacaville and Merriman on Main, you know this is the place to be.
I love how the community comes together and everybody's just happy and getting along.
Have you ever been to Merriman on Main before?
Yes, when I was a child. So this is 30 years.
I'm so happy to be here.
I think it's really cool how everyone gets to come together.
I'm very excited to see the tree light up.
I always make it to come out here every year. I have to come back. I love Merriman on Main.
Seeing everything decorated and lit up, and it just brings joy to my heart.
I love the sense of community that it brings out.
I think it's really exciting with all the activities and everything. I just love it.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yes! Merry Christmas, Vacaville!
My favorite part is seeing the Christmas tree.
All the vendors, all the displays, all the lights.
How many times would you say have you been to Merriman on Main?
Well, I think I started at the beginning. I never miss it. All the fun, watching the children. Everybody seems so happy.
It has lots of colors and it's fun. I like the music and the trees.
I think it's a thing that brings a lot of people together, and I think that that's cool. You get to see a lot of small businesses and people you know from school, and I think that it's just a really nice collaborative day.
I love the lights. It's all just really nice.
The kids and the families all together, hugging and loving and laughing.
The joy. When you see people seriously excited for something, it's always fun to watch.
I like the energy it brings, the vibes. Family tradition.
People, the community, the spirit of Christmas.
We are the Wilsey Wood Sylvan Singers, coming together, making some music, and bringing a smile to people's faces. Yeah, I love the live music. We love Vacaville!
That's what.
To have the entire community together, it's kind of a rare find. So coming here and being able to see everybody, your neighbors and your neighbors' neighbors, it's really cool. I feel like I'm a part of a community.
Vacaville's a family town, a place of community, pride. They care about kids and togetherness. It's just fun.
This is community. I've never seen this anywhere else. I'm very proud.
We love Merriman on Main! This is a family tradition. Happy New Year, everybody!
It truly does reflect what's the very best of Vacaville. Vacaville is not just a place, it's a feeling. And we also have the opportunity as a city to represent, or actually to recognize the Rico family, Richard Rico, where there will be a plaque that will be placed behind the flagpole trio back there for the dedication of all the years where it started with the Richard Rico and his family. And so we presented that on that night. And hopefully in the future, you will be able to see that plaque that will be placed there when it's complete. And yes, that guy that was standing next to me is my identical twin. And you just never know if he goes into a meeting, whether it's he or I, you'll just have to decide. So with that, have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. We'll see everyone in January. There's refreshments, I understand, in the back or somewhere. Okay, so in conference room AB. So hopefully those of you who are here to celebrate those who are on this council and elected and re-elected, we're going to have refreshments right after this. So with that, this meeting is adjourned. Good night, Vacaville.